about Wellmark today. Get started at wellmark.com.
You could win a pair of premium tickets to an Iowa Hawkeye football game from the Iowa Lottery. 17 winners will receive a prize package for the Illinois versus Iowa game on November 23rd. The Kinnick Gridiron giveaway package includes 2 tickets in the new North End Zone Ironman box, plus Iowa Hawkeye and Iowa Lottery merchandise, $100 spending cash, and more. Enter the Kinnick Gridiron giveaway online today with a current Iowa Powerball ticket. For rules and complete details, visit ialottery.com.
What if I told you there was a way to step into another gear for your brain and be much sharper, more focused, and improve your memory to a level that you could only dream about, and notice these results in 30 minutes? Hard to believe? Neuroscientists are calling this new brain discovery the biggest advancement in brain science to date. It's called Limitless, the brain pill of the future. Take it, and within 30 minutes, you'll transport your mind to a new level of focus and clarity you would have never thought possible.
I took Limitless, and it started working in minutes. All of a sudden, it felt like a dark cloud had been lifted up right before my eyes. I have a mental clarity I've never felt before.
Biz execs, athletes, teachers, and students are calling Limitless a secret weapon for the brain. You have nothing to lose, so call now and find out how to get a free bottle today.
To find out how to get your free bottle of Limitless, call 800-681-9041. That's 800-681-9041. Free bottle for a limited time. Call now, 800-681-9041, 800-681-9041.
Michael Devine, the Doctor of Truth.
Does anyone have anything they'd like to confess?
At AM 1400 KVFD.
That's right. I'm the Doctor of Truth here at AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. And we have another Doctor of Truth on the phone with us now, and that's Dr. Lee Heeb. How are you, Lee?
Hey, great.
All right, it's Friday, right?
Nice sunny day.
Bright sunny day, fall day. Maybe the farmers can get the harvest moved along a little bit further, and that'll be great for everybody. Dr. Heeb is a libertarian, of course, and again, let me mention she's a real doctor, not a sociologist or something. She's an orthopedic surgeon. Dr. Heeb, like other libertarians, well-known libertarians, is often held up and almost worshipped by potheads because
I'm worshipped by potheads, really? I didn't know this.
I think there's a Lee Heeb cult out there in stoner land somewhere. Because
I didn't know this.
Oh yeah, you've got it going on with the stoners, I'll tell you. That's because libertarians don't see any sense at all in making drugs illegal, and I kind of fall into that category. But I don't want to get into this. Yeah, man, I need some weed thing. But the fact of the matter is, marijuana is being legalized in states around the country, and the federal government is kind of standing back. And it seems like what the federal government is doing is waiting for a tipping point of states to approve marijuana for recreational use, and then the federal government will then drop any restrictions on marijuana use as well. I don't really want to, again, get into, wow, cool, isn't it cool to smoke weed or any of that nonsense. I would like to know, from your perspective as a physician, if smoking marijuana is harmful.
Oh, sure. So is alcohol. So is almost, I mean, there are so many harmful things you can do to yourself. But we have to look at relative risk. I mean, and I'm going to tell you, unlike Clinton here, I'm going to come clean. I went to college at Grinnell College in Iowa, which, if you know anything about, is a very liberal school. And then in the 60s, it was probably the center of hippiedom in Iowa.
Oh, yeah.
So everybody tried marijuana, but in those days, it was kind of that old stuff, I mean, I don't know that it was very good, but whatever. And I just remember back then thinking to myself, I really don't like this stuff very much. This isn't something I want to do because I just don't think I can be at my best professional educational form the next day. It wasn't like having a drink the night before. Somehow I just didn't function very well. And that's not true of, here we go again. That's not true of everybody, but that certainly was true of me.
Yeah.
And I can say that, when I went on the campaign and went for governor years ago in 2014, and I talked to people, and this question always came up, and everybody seemed to have a very emotional opinion about this, especially in our state legislature. And I would love to do a drug test of all those guys and see how many people are really being honest. But anyway, I decided to say, so I said to somebody, I'd like to just try it once more in my life, just to see what all the fuss is about, all this Colorado stuff. And anyway, so I was over in Colorado, and my lungs, I've never smoked a cigarette in my life. I don't really want to inhale anything, but I tried some of those edibles, and I decided, you know what? It's like, I don't like the feeling. I almost forgot to stand up. I mean, I personally don't like the feeling. This is not something I'm going to run out and do. But on the other hand, that should not be our reason for making something illegal. Okay? I understand that there are drugs that are so, and this is a hard problem because I am a libertarian, and from a libertarian standpoint, there's part of me that wants to say, the drug wars kills a lot of people and is so corrupt, and we can't keep our own people clean, and the drug wars isn't working, and let's just get rid of all this nonsense and just give up on fighting drugs. Okay, let's just let nature take its course here. But from a medical standpoint, I got to say, there's some drugs that are so deadly. Methamphetamine is so devastating and for our society. I just can't bring myself to say we should legalize that.
Oh, God,
that's not true. And that's not true with marijuana. I mean, marijuana, quite frankly, on every, and I'm going to speak as a physician, on every aspect that I've ever encountered as a physician, I just never see it damage people like I see the other drugs. Now, and I'm going to say that from several aspects. One is, I took care of trauma people in the emergency room a lot. And I can tell you most of the accidents, most of the mayhem is from alcohol, meth, and PCP in the old days. I don't know if PCP is still in there, but meth and alcohol, even heroin wasn't in there, believe it or not. But meth and alcohol do a couple things. I mean, alcohol makes you not able to function very well, and you have accidents to yourself and others driving and using machinery and things like that. But it also gives you anger management problems. And meth gives you anger management problems. So not only do you hurt yourself and others accidentally, you beat people up, you get into fights, you stab people. The murder and the mayhem that are due to anger management problems is from alcohol and meth primarily. You never see that with marijuana. Never.
I think that's absolutely correct. I'm
having that feedback problem, so I'm going to assume you can hear me, and I'm just hearing it here.
I can hear you just. We can hear you just fine.
Isn't it funny? It's only when I talk to you, Mike, that I have this. So it's either the NSA or you. I'm not sure who's doing that.
Well,
or the NSA doesn't want me to talk to you.
Well,
but truly, it is. It's not. It doesn't make you a violent person. And in point of fact, that's the joke, that the marijuana guys are over there eating Cheetos. They're not beating each other up. It doesn't lead to the violence. And so I honestly think that we ought to just get over this, and not make it illegal. And especially, of course, now there's two types. Let's talk about the medical aspects here in another way. There's for people that don't really understand all this, I didn't until later in my life here. There's different types of marijuana, and we talk about the fragments, or the big differential is in the hemp plant is between THC, or tetrahydrocannabinol, and CBD, or the cannabinoids. And the CBD oil is what we use for pain management and for protecting the brain against neurodegenerative disorders, and for helping the brain recover from brain trauma. It's actually, the patent for that is owned by your federal government, just for those things. And it says in the patent there's no side effects. So it's crazy to have any illegality of that. So that medically should be legal tomorrow, everywhere. And it's a disservice to our vets and to everybody that's had a brain problem or doesn't want to have a brain problem to make that in any way illegal. That's just corruption at its highest level to have that be illegal. So CBD, number one, is absolutely zero reason to be illegal, because or to be even a scheduled drug. Now, the THC, while you may want to say it's a scheduled drug, everything you can say about making it a scheduled drug. A scheduled drug is one that has addictive potential and has potential for lethality. okay, to kill you. Now, that's true of alcohol. Why isn't alcohol a scheduled drug? Okay,
That's a
we
good
just don't-
question.
In other words,
That
you know,
if
so
if
it
if
is, and it's a legal question too of how we then approach it. You know, I mean, they both have alcohol and marijuana are similar in a lot of ways. But on the other hand, you can kill yourself a lot easier with marijuana. There's no death from marijuana because it simply does not address your brain or attack your brainstem. There are no brainstem receptors, so you don't stop breathing. You don't stop your heart. It's just not done. You know, any deaths reported from marijuana generally have other drugs being taken simultaneously. So there's not one clearly documented death from marijuana that I can find in the literature. So I don't see a medical reason to make it even a scheduled drug, let alone illegal.
well, my personal experience can't be counted as scientific research, but I know I got in a lot more trouble drinking than I ever did smoking marijuana. Smoking marijuana just made me want to, as you say, eat Cheetos and listen to the Grateful Dead. You know, that was about it. Liquor, on the other hand, made me want to go to bars and get crazy, which I did.
Right.
And,
Fight. You know, and you know, I admit, I think that the biggest problem with marijuana is that a lot of people might not push themselves to excel in something that they might otherwise. And the argument always is, and I talked to a congressman in our legislature about this, and he said, oh, I knew this high school student that's a great guy until he got his marijuana, and then it was just downhill all the way. You know, everybody can find an anecdote like that, but do you really think that's the whole story there? Come on.
No, I've said this.
If you use that anecdote, I could talk about almost anything.
Certainly.
You know, I know somebody that got into vegan diets and is killing themselves. You know, it's just like, you can't use that. You got to look at the big picture here. And the real big picture is that 75% of the drug lords' money comes from marijuana. So, and, you know, and quite frankly, actually maybe not so much now, because what's happening, you really want to look at it, what's happening is the so-called opiate epidemic we're having is because as marijuana is getting legalized across the country and the drug lords are losing their income, they're switching to harder drugs coming across. So we're importing more things that are laced with fentanyl. So
Well, I often hear marijuana referred to as a gateway drug, but I'll tell you, my gateway drug was Greenbelt, a can of Greenbelt. That was my gateway.
Yeah.
You know, and
as it is for many people.
Yeah.
Alcohol, and they say that 1 in 11 people. The joke is that 1 in 10 Americans are alcoholic, and 1 in 4 doctors. That is a joke,
Yeah.
but may not be that far off. It turns out that, you know, it takes on average 11 years for the social drinker to become an alcoholic, and alcohol is a big problem in our society. That has bad consequences, and I got to tell you, here's the other thing. Here's what I just see in my own social circles and in my patients, is that I don't see wives that are having real marital problems with husbands that do marijuana. I just don't. Now, maybe I'm not going to say that there's probably people out there that do. If that's all it is, if they come home and have some marijuana on the weekend or a couple times a week or whatever, I don't hear bad stories from those people. I hear it from the people from the guys that come home and drink beer at night and get ugly.
That's right. And there's a lot of that that goes on here in Fort Dodge. So if alcohol is much worse physically and from a societal perspective than marijuana, why in the hell do we have marijuana as an illegal drug and we have places that sell liquor all over town? Why is that?
And just, again, this isn't the medical aspect, but it is a historical point, is that during the Prohibition, they did ask the people, and I'm blanking on his name right now, the guy who was in charge of the Prohibition, the Secretary of the Treasury, you know, the guys, the feds that were doing the anti-alcohol prohibition interdiction. And they asked him, well, what about this stuff, marijuana? What about that stuff? And he said, so he said, I don't know. And he looked into it. He says, he came back and he says, you know, I looked into it, and you know, I just think we ought to let the doctors handle this. I don't see a problem.
There's an idea.
He said, I don't think, that was literally his words. I don't see a problem. Let's let the doctors handle this. But then here's what happened. When they repealed prohibition, there were a lot of people employed by the Treasury as team men to go out and get rid of the mobsters doing, because we created the mob was created by prohibition.
Right.
And then what happened is we had this huge government agency to fight the mobsters, the prohibition. When that went away, we had this huge government agency that was going to lose all their jobs. So they had to find something, and then they remembered this whole thing with marijuana, and then they made it illegal, and then it was a bad thing. Then all the things they didn't want to say about it before became, you can verify this. You don't have to believe me. Then it became a big deal, and they kind of went and they decided to go after it, and that's when, because remember in the teens and the 20s they planted marijuana around, they planted hemp around Iowa and Nebraska and stuff, because it grows here great, and I still have it coming up in my garden, or any place you burn in your yard, it comes up, because it's a great fiber. And it actually is one of the most eco-friendly fibers around, and it makes a great crop. So I think it's good on all fronts.
Yeah, my grandfather. Go right ahead.
And the other thing I was going to say, medically, the other thing is you don't see hypertension from marijuana. You see it from alcohol. If you have hypertension and you drink, you're contributing to your problem. I've never seen that with marijuana. So there's a lot of things to be said about this.
Yeah, I was just wondering what cultural barrier we put up years ago concerning marijuana. I mean, my grandfather had a contract with the government to grow hemp, to make rope. And my father's first cigarette was a hemp cigarette. I always used to give him a lot of grief about being a pothead, which he denied pretty seriously. But I don't know where it all came from, but it would be interesting to do some research in that regard.
Well, there was big money behind it, and let me tell you, it's not. This is maybe for another episode, but it's not just about this. When there's enough money behind something, they can get you to believe almost anything.
Yeah.
And let me just tell you, we have a diabetic epidemic in this country, right? Well, and it was completely caused by the sugar industry. But I'm going to tell you how. And it's the same thing with this marijuana, okay? In 1965, the Sugar Research Foundation paid 3 Harvard scientists, and it wasn't what we would call chump change, really. But in those days, it was probably a year or two of their wages, to prove that sugar was harmless. They wanted to point the blame at saturated fat, because they realized what the problem was, that sugar was the thing that was causing the obesity and the diabetic problem and the heart attack. Everybody's worried about in the 60s, heart attack. And so these 3 scientists who were really respected nutritional experts, they rolled over. They took the money and they published these absolute crap papers, dishonest papers, and they long-term studies that showed that sugar caused deadly arterial plaque in your arteries. They just dismissed. They were able to write dismissive articles of, because they took the silver coin of the sugar industry and they wrote false stuff. And not only did it stop them from losing the market on all this stuff, you and I and everybody, for 40 years of our lives, have been inflicted with this, because we've gotten all this rash of low-fat, high-carb, hidden sugar food that has caused diabetes, hypertension, and heart attacks in millions of people that could have been prevented had these 3 dudes not just taken the sugar people's money. And I'm going to tell you, that's the way this happens. That's a lesson for our time. I think how we got to the illegality of marijuana.
Dr. Lee Heeb has been our guest. Thank you so much, Lee.
Hey, thanks.
You bet. This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
Do you ever get tired of watching bad things happen to people?
Sticking up for you when no one else will.
All about the money, Dr. Hebe said. Words to that effect. We're kind of going through that right now. Mediacom is conducting a campaign to prevent any changes in our broadband services rather than addressing the issues of poor customer service and slow internet speed. There you go. What's that say to you? It's all about the Benjamins. All right, the news, the obituaries, and Denise Valentine coming up at AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge.
Having a high-yield harvest matters. Having a positive ROI matters even more. NK's broad genetic portfolio was developed using advanced technologies and traits, plus the latest data analytics, so we can recommend products that deliver the value you need to help maximize your operation's profit potential.
In this area, check out NK 1082. This hybrid offers excellent yield potential across the entire Corn Belt with Agrisure Artesian technology. Ask your NK retailer about NK 1082 and other top-performing products.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
With your KVFD News Update, I'm Rob Jones. There was a candidate forum last night at Friendship Haven Celebration Center. The candidates running for the Fort Dodge City Council seats that are up for election on this year's ballot were in attendance. Those 6 candidates included Councilman Nevin Conrad, Melvin Newsom. Those two are facing each other for the at-large seat. The second ward candidates, Justin Myers and Andy Fritz, and the candidates for the 3rd Ward seat, Councilman Dave Flattery and Richard Higgins. The forum featured questions from the public. One of the major topics of discussion in the forum was the upcoming referendum on if the city should create a municipal broadband utility. In sports, Week 9 of high school football, the regular season finale under the lights tonight. All games are available online at yourfortdodge.com. 6:45 pregame show and a 7 p.m. kickoff. On 92 Rock, the Fort Dodge Dodgers are at home hosting Marshalltown. Both teams come in 5-3. The Dodgers coming off a win against Sioux City West 57-0 last week. A trip to the playoffs is on the line, and if the Dodgers want to keep their season alive, tonight is a must-win. Coach Matt Miller says his guys are ready to go.
You know, I know just sitting there visiting with our kids and our staff as we get ready, they're ready to roll. As one of our things I've always said, you got 48 minutes to play and a lifetime to remember.
With a win tonight, Coach Matt Miller could become the all-time winningest coach in Dodger football history. The Dodgers will have a spirit walk presented by the Dodger Gridiron Club outside of Dodger Stadium tonight at 5:30. On Sunday, 99.7, the St. Edmund Gales are at Manson Northwest Webster in the regular season finale. Manson Northwest Webster coming off a win against Ridgeview. The Gales have lost their last 5 games in a row and look to get back in the win column tonight. On 105.9 The Beach, join veteran area sportscasters Mark Williamson and Brian Peters as they bring you the call as South Central Calhoun hosts Pocahontas area. Tonight marks the regular season finale senior night for South Central Calhoun, and Coach Brian Case said the message to his team is clear.
Word of the week this week is family. You know, there's always going to be some struggles within families. You're always going to have some differences and so forth, but at the same time, you're always going to have each other's back. You know, this is our seniors' last regular season game, and it's everybody's responsibility to make sure that they go out on top.
South Central Calhoun can finish the regular season undefeated and clinch the district title tonight. Here's Coach Case on winning the district title.
By the RPI, we have a good possibility of being district champions anyway just because of the RPI. We want to be outright district champions. The only way to make that happen is by winning this football game.
For KVFD from the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom, I'm Rob Jones.
Here's a look at how the markets closed today. December corn unchanged at $3.86 3/4. March corn down 1/2 penny at $3.97 1/2. May down 1/2 cent at $4.04. July down 1/2 penny at $4.09 3/4. November soybeans down 13 cents at $9.20 1/4. January down at $9.17 3/4. Soybean meal down $2.30 a ton at $3.03.30. October live cattle up $1.55 at $111.97. December up $1.35 at $116.07. October feeder cattle up 47 cents at $145.70. November up $1.20 at $145.37. December lean hogs up 37 cents at $64.92. February down 12 at $73.35. I'm Dwayne Murley.
This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. It's 2:34 now, 26 minutes before 3 o'clock. The fabulous Janice Valentine will be with us shortly. Right now in Fort Dodge, 52 degrees, a nice day, sunny with a temperature around 52 most of the day. Overnight clear with a low of 32. Tomorrow, sunny with a high of 55. Sunday, sunny with a high of 47. Monday, a slight chance of rain, otherwise mostly cloudy with a high of 40. Tuesday, sunny with a high of 38. And on Wednesday, mostly sunny with a high of 36. Thursday, sunny with a high of 40. Definitely heading into some cooler weather, colder weather, actually. 52 degrees right now in Fort Dodge. Obituaries this hour brought to you by Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services at 1615 North 15th Street, Fort Dodge. You may contact Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services by calling 515-576-7128 or online at www.gundersonfuneralhome.com. Gloria Collins has died at the age of 89. That's my daughter-in-law's grandmother. Gloria Jean Collins of Fort Dodge died on Tuesday at the Marion home. Funeral services will be held Monday at 10:30 at Corpus Christi Catholic Church for Gloria Jean Collins. Obituaries this hour brought to you by Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services at 1615 North 15th Street, Fort Dodge. You may contact Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services by calling 515-576-7128 or online at www.gundersonfuneralhome.com. We'll talk with Janice Valentine in 30 seconds at AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge.
Have the talk of the lifetime with the ones you love.
This cut asks, what events in our nation's history had an impact on you and how?
Pearl Harbor was on my 10th birthday, December 7th, 1941. That was the start of World War II. I was doing the farm chores with my brother, and the vet came to check our cows and told us all about it. It was a scary time.
Sharing stories and memories with those who matter most will be especially significant when it's time to honor a life lived. Contact Gunderson Funeral Home to learn more about having the talk of a lifetime.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
Do you ever get tired of watching bad things happen to people?
Sticking up for you when no one else will.
That's right. We're sticking up for you here when no one else will. This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. I'm Michael Devine, and Janice Valentine, our friend. The fabulous Janice Valentine joins us now. How are you, Janice?
Well, fabulous. How about you, Mike?
I'm pretty fabulous my own self. Janice Valentine is a local attorney. She's at Valentine Law Office, PC, practicing primarily in workers' compensation and personal injury. There is no fee for first consultation. You may contact Janice Valentine by calling 515-955-5544. She's at 415 the Boston Center, 809 Central Avenue, Fort Dodge, at www.valentinelaw.net. And her email is jvalentine@valentinelaw.net. And she is, of course, a longtime contributor to the program, I'm happy to say. Janice, there's a couple of things I want to talk with you about, of course. First of all, our broadband issue here in the city of Fort Dodge. Do you have any opinion or insight into our broadband issue?
Well, all I know is my internet is out at home. It's very annoying right now.
And I bet you have to go wait someplace for 4 hours for some technician to come and show up and fix it.
I have to wait till Monday.
You have to, of course you do. You're going to have to go all weekend without internet service because, well, it's just not working out in the great scheme of things for Mediacom to send over a tech.
Yeah, so in any event, and I actually voted today. I'm going to remind all of your listeners that you can vote at the courthouse. You don't have to wait until November, so get out there and make sure you make your voice heard.
Yes, that's a good point, Janice. Now, I want to point out, excuse me, Janice, I want to point out you can certainly vote on whether we should proceed with city-owned broadband or not, and you can vote for a council at large, of course. That's Nevin Conrad and Melvin Newsom are running for the at-large seat, and Dave Flattery and Richard Higgins are running for Ward 3, and Justin Myers and Andy Fritz are running for Ward 2. Now, if you live in those wards, of course, you can vote, and everybody can vote for council at large and certainly city-owned broadband. You should go to the courthouse. Go today. Go as quickly as you can. Beat the lines. I always do.
And it's great weather now.
Yes.
You never know what it's going to be on the day of voting, so it's just nice to get that out of the way.
Yeah, we're used to that. You never know what the weather's going to be.
But yeah, so I don't claim to be much of a techie at all. So some of this stuff is way over my pay grade. But I did vote yes because in my understanding is we're voting to explore. We're not voting to actually do it. That's a different day. But in my opinion, I think we should at least put that idea on the table and see if it makes sense.
We are voting to explore. What we're voting for is for the city to proceed with preliminary fiber optic, city-owned internet service, broadband service, and before anything happens, before any money is gained through revenue bonds or anything like that, there has to be a succession of city council votes. So those who say you're voting for a city broadband, for city-owned broadband right now today, that's false.
Correct. Correct. You are just saying you're allowing the council to take that step. And my understanding too is that step can look very different. They can partner with an existing outfit, or do our own, or create something entirely different. So I don't think you really. The idea is just giving the council the authority to proceed with exploring the idea of whether it makes sense.
That's correct. And again, there has to be a number of city council votes before a spade of dirt has turned. There's going to be a complete explanation of the financing, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You know, I don't know if you know Chip Baltimore or not. He's an attorney down in Boone, and he's a former state representative. I've met Chip a couple of times, talked to him on the air once or twice. He's a nice guy, but he's a lobbyist. He is a lobbyist now for a taxpayer protection association or something out of Washington, D.C., and maybe you saw his piece in the Fort Dodge Messenger a while ago. It was essentially a scare tactic telling the citizens of Fort Dodge, don't trust your government. All of a sudden, the city council, have you seen our city council? Do they look like government agents to you? Does Matt Bemrick look like a suspicious government agent of some kind who wants to go around sticking his hand in old widows' pocketbooks? I don't think so. But that's the tactic they're using now, and I'm going to talk to Skip on the air, or not Skip, but Chip. What is his name?
Chip. It is
Chip Baltimore. I'm going to talk to him on
Wednesday. I don't know what
Wednesday.
his real name is, but yeah.
Yeah, Chip is suspicious, but I'll talk with him Wednesday, and we'll see what he has to say.
Well, and I saw that. I didn't know that he was behind that. I kind of wondered what this Washington, D.C. group was doing in Fort Dodge, Iowa, but now that makes more sense. And I find it odd that a former politician is now pointing fingers at politicians and questioning
Isn't that beautiful?
That's kind of precious. But anyway, I think people need to be smart about when they view things like that or read things like that. First of all, you need to know the source. And now you've highlighted that to me, and that tells me all I need to know that that's not a source I'm going to listen to.
Well, and here we go again, and this really cemented it for me. Mediacom would apparently hire at great expense a lobbying firm to prevent any changes to internet service in Fort Dodge at all, rather than sending somebody over to the fabulous Janice's house to fix her internet. And by the way, I've had repeated problems with my internet and cable TV over the years. And, there's nowhere else I can go. I'm hosed. Frontier is still stuck with phone lines. I can't use them. They're too slow. And we are turning in, especially younger people, are very internet savvy, and they expect and need high-speed internet for their work and careers, and even sometimes personal communications with their families. Lauraville, for God's sake, is getting fiber optics, and we're still stuck in the 1970s somewhere, which is never good.
Yeah, and you have to keep in mind that the scale of doing something in Lauraville is, of course, much different than doing something here in Fort Dodge. But in the same token, we have many more people to finance that, too. So, it cuts both ways. But, yes, I think we need to look forward rather than backward. And you're right. That is something that I would imagine is more on the hit list for people at looking where they want to locate their families or, raise a family. We had to get past the hurdle of people saying, why are we spending money on trails? Nobody's going to use them.
Right.
Well, guess what? We do.
We do.
So it's sometimes, you have to be a little more forward looking, and I hope our community does that.
Well, Janice, if we get city-owned broadband, we'll turn into Venezuela or Detroit. If I hear that one more time, the top of my head is going to blow right off. So you watch. Just as soon as you're off the air, somebody will say, somebody will call me up and say, we're going to turn into Venezuela and Detroit.
I don't even get it. What does that mean?
Well, it means it's a socialist concept. We turned our lives and our pocketbooks over to the government, who promptly absconded with it in some way and left us with the bill, and we're too broke to pay the bill. Yeah, Detroit.
Okay.
Detroit failed. It was one of the. I have never been to Detroit, but apparently at one time it was a beautiful city in the Midwest, a prosperous city in the Midwest. The reason it failed was because of NAFTA. The entire automobile industry, with few exceptions, moved across the border or overseas, and left the city in deep poverty. That's why Detroit has the problem. And Venezuela, by the way, those are communist thugs. There is no comparison in our country at all to Venezuela, period, end of story. But it's an effective scare tactic.
Well, it doesn't work for me.
Yeah, it doesn't work for me either, because we see through it. I mean, it's just propaganda. And I guess I could go on about this for a long time with you, Janice, but I guess we should move on to something that we can actually come to some sort of conclusion on. So let's go to Donald Trump. He is the impeachment proceedings are moving forward with Donald Trump. Of course, we can't see it. The people of the United States can't see witnesses. We don't know what they're saying. The hearings are in complete secrecy. And now, yesterday, I think, some Republicans, 35, 40 of them or something, including Steve King, stormed the chambers with their cell phones. I liked that. And demanded that these hearings be held in public. I have to tell you, I would agree with that. Impeachment is no small thing. There are people who are willing to suspend every legal restraint we have just to get Donald Trump out of office. But that's just fear and anger speaking. And the law, the rule of law, is supposed to restrain those sorts of passions. So I hope that we can, or I hope you'll agree with me, that these hearings that are being held, impeachment hearings, should be open to the public in some way rather than in secret.
Well, and again, I may have this wrong. I don't think they haven't even voted on impeachment. So these aren't impeachment hearings. My understanding is these are basically depositions, getting witness testimony in sworn testimony from witnesses to decide how to proceed. So that's like me doing depositions in a lawsuit, and then once I find out I have a good case, then I take it to the courthouse, and that's a public venue.
I'm sorry, Janice, is that an apt comparison? We're talking about the office of the President of the United States. We're talking about the leader of the free world, even though it is Donald Trump. So is it a fair comparison, really, to call these hearings similar to a deposition?
Well, I think that's what they are. They are not hearings. That's my point, is these aren't hearings. If they were hearings, then yes, I think that should be public. But my understanding is these are not hearings. And here again, the hypocrisy in politics is just so rampant. But my understanding is that when the Benghazi hearings were going on with the Republicans on Hillary, they definitely had those all closed and wanted them closed, and they kicked out Democrats. If you weren't a committee member, you couldn't participate in that. So it's a little disingenuous to say now, that now we want these depositions, essentially, these inquisitions for witnesses to be public. So I think once it gets to a point where we're doing hearings, yes, clearly that should be in the public forum. but now I think they're just trying to figure out whether they're even going to move forward.
Oh, I'm sure they'll move forward. I mean, for one thing, every Democrat is going to vote to move forward. It'll be almost. I mean, some of the Republicans may join the Democrats in voting to move forward, but I'm sure they're going to move forward without a problem. The real thing is going to be the real trial will be in the Senate. That's where they have an actual trial in the Senate. Now, the Republicans enjoy a minority or a majority there. But there's a few mavericks, to use the expression, like Mitt Romney, the rather bizarre figure of Mitt Romney. And we'll see what happens in the Senate. But that'll take place in February. That's the big hitch for the Democrats, I think. I don't know if they want an impeachment trial in the Senate 6 months before the election, but maybe they do. I don't know. Maybe they have their reasons for doing that. Janice Valentine is our guest at AM 1400, KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. She's over at Valentine Law Office here in town. I'm glad you mentioned Lady Macbeth. That would be Hillary Clinton to me, of course. Hillary Clinton has been dropping all sorts of hints all over the place, and she's been highly visible, more so than usual lately. She's been dropping hints. She wants to dive into the 2020 presidential election. Is this a good idea for her or the Democratic Party? Yeah.
It's a horrible, horrible idea. And I just can't even fathom that has any traction whatsoever other than in her, if that's even accurate. And I'm not suggesting, not that you wouldn't be lying to us.
Oh, no.
I can't
Hillary
even
Clinton.
fathom in my wildest dream. I think Bernie needs to go home. I mean, it's just, we don't need to redo what we already did,
And Bernie just had a heart attack. He's 79, looks 89. I like him. I like a lot of his ideas, but he's not going to be the candidate. He's not.
Yeah. And I'm not even sure, what my thoughts are on. I think we need to look at the process and hopefully the party itself figures out a message that I think they're so disjointed right now.
Well, that's why I like talking to you about these things, and you're such a great guest, because in some places you're a little more conservative than I am, and in other places I'm way more conservative than you are.
Right. Well, and that's how it should be, I think.
I think
Isn't
so.
that humanity? I mean,
that is humanity.
We're not just one thing,
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess I just look at both sides and not sure most of us feel like we fit in either party.
I don't know.
At least I know I don't.
Yeah. Oh, I don't. I've often thought that we should have a third party. The Democrats start screaming about that idea, because really the Democrats are a collection of tribes. The Republicans are pretty much the business class. You can say that about them. They are pretty much the business class. But again, the Democratic Party is all kinds of different people. What's left over of the unions and gays and public employee unions, on and on and on. There's a lot, and the environmentalists, of course, where they get a lot of their money. I was intrigued not long ago that some of the biggest bundlers for the Democratic Party, some of the biggest fundraisers on Wall Street, those people who actually fund campaigns for the Democratic Party, they had announced that they would not support the Democratic Party if the nominee for president was Elizabeth Warren.
Really?
Really, yeah. They had come out and said this. And, of course, Hillary Clinton, one reason that she was defeated, I think Hillary Clinton is someone who cannot accept that she was beaten by Big Orange. And it still is amazing to me after 3 years that happened. But as a matter of fact, as one of her communications directors said, we didn't know we were nominating somebody the whole country hated.
And how could they not know that?
Well, because they didn't want to. People delude themselves. They get involved in the campaign, or they especially partisan political people, Republican and Democrat, they find some flag to march under, and they're just right. And after the campaign is over, their head clears and go, why did I do that? Well, it's because there's a tendency to want to rally around that flag, I think, to be part of the gang, and we're in this great and noble cause to elect Hillary Clinton to something. And she never was that person to me. And frankly, I still remember being in that voting booth in the 2016 election and looking at Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump, and I froze. I couldn't vote for either one of them. I did vote for president, but I just couldn't vote for them. You know, I found the idea of Trump as president ludicrous, and I was appalled at the idea of Hillary Clinton. But anyway.
And I'm just going to disagree with you just slightly because I have to, but not voting is voting.
Not voting is voting?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, how do you, what do you mean?
I'm saying you're making a decision on a candidate basically by not voting. You know, choosing not to vote for somebody is usually voting for the other person.
I get that. I get that. Especially my Democratic friends jump all over me for that, you know, and they repeat just exactly what you said. And I understand there's validity to that idea, but I have never had that experience before in my life. I mean,
well, none of us had.
Yeah,
we were all faced with that little sharp reality check.
Oh man, you know, and I just couldn't do it. I mean, I've been in there and thought, you know, as they say, hold your nose and vote for somebody, and I've done that a couple of times. But I just froze. I just completely froze. I thought, I'll vote for Hillary. She's going to win, no doubt. And everybody thought that. But I just couldn't do it. And the idea of voting for Trump, I thought, now there's a real wasted vote because he is going to lose, you know. So I thought, Hillary can win without my vote. Turns out she couldn't.
She might needed a few more of your friends.
Yeah, she might. Yeah, she probably needed more than just mine, as it turned out. But anyway, Janice Valentine's our guest at AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. Just a real quick question before we leave. We've talked about a lot of things with Janice today, and that's always great to do that. Do you believe in the legalization of marijuana? And I ask that question of you because you're an attorney, and you've probably seen the damage that alcohol does to families, certainly drunk driving cases. All kinds of legal problems arise from using alcohol. I'm unaware that a lot of problems come from using marijuana. So do you have a dog in this fight, or are you just not interested?
Oh, no, I don't know. I think we all have a dog in the fight somewhat, but no, I think it should be. I'm all for medical marijuana.
Yeah.
Definitely medical.
Yeah, certainly.
And I think we need to. I would bet the legislators take another look at that this next session because that had such broad-based support on both sides. I'm not sure yet on recreational marijuana, and I probably could be okay with it at certain amounts. Mm-hmm. You know, but at some point, and I don't know enough about how marijuana is measured, probably grams or milligrams or however it's measured. But at some point, to me, it looks like you're probably not just using it recreationally. You know, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
But if it's truly recreational, you know, and the amounts are not great, I wouldn't have a big issue with that.
Your old school is taking on Northwestern this weekend. Who's going to win?
Well, I hope the Hawks. Yeah, I haven't seen the line yet, so I'm not sure where the pundits have us. But they look pretty clumsy getting there. But you know, a W is a W.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, they've always. As far as I'm
concerned, if we can get our offense going, that would be helpful. The defense is shown up, but some offense would be helpful.
Janice Valentine is an attorney. She's with Valentine Law Office PC right here in town. Call 515-955-5544. Thank you, Janice.
Thanks, Mike. Have a great weekend, and go Hawks.
You too. Oh, yeah, go Hawks. AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge 258.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Real travel is life-changing. With Trafalgar, you'll discover the best way to travel and connect with the culture, people, and places you visit. You'll travel with the freedom to discover and the confidence to explore. With over 300 trips on all 7 continents, you get real experiences that you won't find elsewhere. These are just a few of the greatest travel stories you'll ever tell. Save up to 10% on trips. Terms and conditions apply. Visit your travel agent or Trafalgar.com. Trafalgar, simply the best.
As a farmer, I want a cooperative that's there for me.
Not the other way around.
A local co-op that works for me and works with CHS.
To connect me with local experts I know and trust.
And put a global network of markets and supply at my fingertips.
A co-op that's here to help us.
Own every day.
When you're an owner of a local cooperative connected to CHS, you get local expertise, a proven, efficient.
This is Dave Graveline. Be sure to listen to Into Tomorrow right here on the voice of Fort Dodge, AM 1400 KVFD, Fort Dodge.
This is a Fox News alert. A big win in court for House Democrats. I'm Lisa Brady. A federal judge just ordering the Justice Department to give secret grand jury testimony from the Russia probe to the House Judiciary Committee. That material was redacted from special counsel Robert Mueller's report. Democrats requested it as part of the ongoing impeachment inquiry. This as the president continues to call the impeachment probe a witch hunt.
It's a hoax. It's just a continuation of the Russian witch hunt, which turned out to be phony. The Mueller deal was phony. And now they have this.
House Democrats issuing subpoenas for 3 more Trump administration officials today. Meantime, the president's Washington, D.C. hotel might end up for sale. Fox's John Decker is live at the White House.
In a move motivated in part by criticism that President Trump is flouting ethics laws, the Trump Organization is exploring a sale of the rights to the company's Washington, D.C. hotel. In a statement, Eric Trump, an executive vice president of the Trump Organization, said people are objecting to us making so much money on the hotel, and therefore we may be willing to sell. Several lawsuits have alleged that President Trump is violating the Constitution's ban on emoluments or payments by foreign governments when foreign government officials visit the hotel. The building is owned by the federal government and is leased to the Trump Organization by the General Services Administration. Lisa?
John, Amazon founder Jeff Bezos, no longer the richest person in the world. Microsoft's Bill Gates taking the crown back, in part because of the Amazon chief's divorce, giving up a quarter of their holdings after admitting an affair.
And then last night, after the company reported worse than expected earnings, well, he lost $7 billion. But don't cry for Jeff, because he still owns 57 million shares of Amazon, and that is worth $100.7 billion.
Fox Business Network's Jerry Willis at the New York Stock Exchange. America is listening. Fox News.
Mike Capel here, serial entrepreneur with words from another happy payroll customer.
I've used it for a year now, and I've worried 0 time. I just enter in the time, it's calculated, and it's taken out a bank account, and it's just done. I love it.
Visit us at patriotsoftware.com. Use promo code RADIO and get 2 months of payroll free. That's patriotsoftware.com.
Accounting and payroll, keep your time and money.
When you fire up a John Deere 1 Series tractor, you can tackle the job without wrestling the attachments. Hook up everything from a front loader to a drive-over mower deck in no time, so you can haul gravel, cut grass, or do any job in between. Because when things just click, work just gets done. And now get a 1 Series for just $99 a month at your nearest participating John Deere dealer. Nothing runs like a Deere. Run with us. Search John Deere 1 Series for more. 0% annual percentage rate. For additional cost information, please call toll-free 855-633-2315.
The utility that shut off power to large parts of Northern California in an effort to avoid sparking a wildfire faces new questions over a wildfire in Sonoma County.
PG&E shuts off the power now when the weather gets windy because in the past, wind has caused their equipment to spark some of the state's most devastating wildfires. They shut off the power to people in Geyserville in Sonoma County this week, but in a statement, they say while distribution lines were de-energized in this area, transmission lines were not. And at the transmission tower near Geyserville, where the Kincaid fire started, there was an outage. CAL FIRE taped off the base of this transmission tower. The Kincaid fire forced the town of Geyserville to evacuate. 49 homes and other buildings were destroyed. PG&E has announced yet another round of shutoffs for this weekend. Jessica Rosenthal, Fox News.
As that battle in Sonoma County continues, the so-called tick fire fire in North Los Angeles has prompted evacuation orders for some 40,000 residents. Meantime, California's Governor Gavin Newsom declaring a state of emergency in both counties. There's a new recall of pickup trucks over a coolant leak reportedly tied to fires.
Fiat Chrysler says 108,000 2014 to 2019 Ram 1500 diesel-powered pickups may have shown some microscopic cracks in exhaust gas recirculation coolers and coolant leaks tied to reports of some fires and 4 minor injuries that occurred when customers attempted to manually extinguish engine compartment fires. Fiat Chrysler saying that until an official notification goes out that owners should monitor coolant levels and if consistently low to contact dealers. Jeff Manasso, Fox News.
Wall Street ends the week with a rally. The Dow up 153 at the bell. Strong earnings reports getting much of the credit. The S&P crossing into record territory, but then slipping back under it.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
With your KVFD News Update, I'm Rob Jones. There was a candidate forum last night at Friendship Haven Celebration Center. The candidates running for the Fort Dodge City Council seats that are up for election on this year's ballot were in attendance. Those 6 candidates included Councilman Nevin Conrad, Melvin Newsom. Those two are facing each other for the at-large seat. The second ward candidates, Justin Myers and Andy Fritz, and the candidates for the 3rd Ward seat, Councilman Dave Flattery and Richard Higgins. The forum featured questions from the public. One of the major topics of discussion in the forum was the upcoming referendum on if the city should create a municipal broadband utility. In sports, Week 9 of high school football, the regular season finale under the lights tonight. All games are available online at yourfortdodge.com. 6:45 pregame show and a 7 p.m. kickoff. On 92 Rock, the Fort Dodge Dodgers are at home hosting Marshalltown. Both teams come in 5-3. The Dodgers coming off a win against Sioux City West 57-0 last week. A trip to the playoffs is on the line, and if the Dodgers want to keep their season alive, tonight is a must-win. Coach Matt Miller says his guys are ready to go.
You know, I know just sitting there visiting with our kids and our staff as we get ready, they're ready to roll. As one of our things I've always said, you got 48 minutes to play and a lifetime to remember.
With a win tonight, Coach Matt Miller could become the all-time winningest coach in Dodger football history. The Dodgers will have a spirit walk presented by the Dodger Gridiron Club outside of Dodger Stadium tonight at 5:30. On Sunday, 99.7, the St. Edmund Gales are at Manson Northwest Webster in the regular season finale. Manson Northwest Webster coming off a win against Ridgeview. The Gales have lost their last 5 games in a row and look to get back in the win column tonight. On 105.9 The Beach, join veteran area sportscasters Mark Williamson and Brian Peters as they bring you the call as South Central Calhoun hosts Pocahontas area. Tonight marks the regular season finale senior night for South Central Calhoun, and Coach Brian Case said the message to his team is clear.
Word of the week this week is family. You know, there's always going to be some struggles within families. You're always going to have some differences and so forth, but at the same time, you're always going to have each other's back. You know, this is our seniors' last regular season game, and it's everybody's responsibility to make sure that they go out on top.
South Central Calhoun can finish the regular season undefeated and clinch the district title tonight. Here's Coach Case on winning the district title.
By the RPI, we have a good possibility of being district champions anyway, just because of the RPI. We want to be outright district champions. The only way to make that happen is by winning this football game.
For KVFD from the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom, I'm Rob Jones.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD weatherology forecast. Sunny skies this afternoon with highs around 54. Southerly winds 8 to 15 miles per hour. Lows level off around 32. Tonight, clear skies and quiet. Clear skies tomorrow, highs around 56. Partly cloudy Sunday with highs in the upper 40s. Chance for scattered rain showers Monday. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Currently, it's 52.
Loffersweiler's Funeral Home understands that losing a loved one is one of the most difficult things you will ever experience. They understand that a family who has experienced the loss of a loved one needs immediate assistance that often can't wait until the next morning. Loffersweiler's is there in the darkest moment of a family's life, guiding them through the emotional roller coaster of saying goodbye. More importantly, the staff at Loffersweiler's listens and they care. Laufersweiler Funeral Home, Fort Dodge, serving families like yours since 1856.
Michael Devine, the Doctor of Truth.
Does anyone have anything they'd like to confess?
At AM 1400 KVFD.
That's right. This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice for Dodge. I'm Michael Devine, the Doctor of Truth, and with me here is Wayne Judkins, who's probably the, let's see, how would we describe it? Physician's assistant of truth. Wayne Judkins worked here a while ago, and you are now with who, Wayne?
Community and Family Resources. I'm based out of the Webster City office.
Okay, CFR, Community and Family Resources, and Community and Family Resources helps people primarily with drug and alcohol problems. Am I correct?
Correct. That's the main focus. I actually work in the prevention department. In the prevention department, I'm primarily working with students. I go to Southeast Valley. We've been at St. Edmunds, been at different schools doing different evidence-based programs and curriculum. Also do OWI classes.
Okay.
Do all sorts of different things.
So what is your past in this field? I mean, are you a reformed Coke monkey or something?
I don't think that we really like that term there, Mike.
That's probably true. We're much more pleasant about a terrible disease, and I have plenty of experience in my family with drug and alcohol problems, and I fully appreciate your work and the work of all people who do not have a drug or alcohol dependency to help people who are totally understandable and a lot of times obnoxious and unpleasant to look at. But for you and others like you to look at those people and say you have a disease and you need a certain type of health, I think that's commendable. So I'm just, I just don't take anything seriously, Wayne.
I know it. I remember that about you, Mike.
But there is a town hall meetings on opioids. Now, this is another thing that has surprised me. Opioids have been in the news the last couple of years especially. Of course, it's been a long time since I played any games with alcohol or drugs. And I never got meth either, which I understand is a terrible, terrible problem, and it ruins people. But opioids, and this is Tuesday the 5th from 7 to 9 at the Fort Dodge City Hall City Council chambers. And we have people coming to our town who, John Daniel Jr. will be there. But they are going to talk about opioids. What should we know?
Well, I mean, we have a really very diverse panel that's going to be there. We've got Peter Komendowski. He's with Partnership for Healthy Iowa. He's basically our only real non-Webster County person, really, that we've got there. Pretty much everybody else is Webster County based. We have, of course, someone with treatment from CFR. Mandy Krause-Kelly, the executive director of the YWCA, she's going to be there. John Daniel Jr. We're going to have representatives from the Fort Dodge Police Department, the Sheriff's office as well. We have an RN from Unity Point, and we have an individual from the community that had a very tragic loss with her son with opioids, with overdose. And essentially the way that the town hall will work is everyone will give a little brief introduction about their the intersection of their lives with the opioid crisis. And then we're just going to basically open things up to the community. Actually, Peter Komendowski will be our final speaker, and he'll actually do about a 15-minute presentation. He's a fantastic expert, very good, engaging presentation. And then we'll just take questions from the audience. Andrea Jondal's going to be the moderator for it. She's with CFR. And, City Hall, I think they hold about 90-ish in that room in the chambers there. We're really hoping to fill it. This is a very important thing. It's a problem it's not going away, and we've got a chance to, if not get ahead of it, at least address it.
Wayne Judkins is our guest. So is there an admission fee for this meeting?
No, this is totally free. It'll also be streaming on Iowa Central's website. Iowa Central, Rusty McNeil, I talked with him a couple weeks ago, and he's going to send some students out there and get it filmed for us. I think that they have some sort of like a speakers streaming thing. So unfortunately, I don't have a URL or a
right.
website, but somewhere on the Iowa Central page, it'll be streaming, and maybe we might be able to link that up to our Facebook CFR website or something.
Well, I appreciate you coming in today, Wayne. This is a very serious topic. Of course, we cannot, in our effort to lighten the blow of how we refer to alcoholism and drug addiction, drunks are drunks. To my, alcoholic, that's a nice word. But drunks are drunks, and I've seen a number of drunks in my life, and it seems to me that word, more than alcoholic, sometimes hits home a little harder, and it should. It should. Some people get in that fog, and they think crazily that they're all right and everybody else is nuts.
Substance abuse is, it's a disease, whether it's alcohol and with opioids, so many people get hooked on opioids just from relatively innocuous procedures. I saw a statistic where lots of teenagers that have a wisdom tooth extraction, then they can be prescribed opioids and end up with an opioid addiction from that.
Boy, that's no good, is it?
No, there's a lot of important things to talk about at this town hall.
I want you to think about this. I want you to think about coming back the Monday and Tuesday, or the Monday or Tuesday, I should say, of the event. So that would be Monday the 4th and Tuesday the 5th. If you had time,
okay,
it's better, I think, to remind people on the day of the event. So if you could work that into your schedule, let's communicate between now and then.
Absolutely.
Here's one of my super expensive cards.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Wayne Judkins has been our guest at Town Hall on Opioids, Tuesday, November 5th at the Fort Dodge City Hall from 7 to 9. This is KVFD Fort Dodge.
We are the land of the free because of the brave. Alpha Media and Graham Tire want to thank our local military men and women for their service. Our Wall of the Brave is currently displayed at Graham Tire of Fort Dodge. We invite you to stop out to Graham Tire and sign the wall as a show of support for our military. This special veterans promotion is sponsored by Graham Tire of Fort Dodge, Farm Nutrients, Advanced Heating and Cooling, River Valley Winery and Orchards, the Co-op Bar and Grill, and Alpha Media Fort Dodge.
Staples is more than a place you go to buy a printer.
It's where an associate explained the difference between an inkjet, a laserjet, and a super tank printer in a way I could understand. Where I found a huge selection of printers at great prices so I didn't have to run store to store. And it's where I can easily find the ink, toner, and paper I need priced low every day.
Staples is your one-stop shop for all your printing needs. And right now, save up to $200 on select printers. Staples, for your business printing and beyond. Ends 11/2/19 while supplies last. Exclusions apply.
Hey, I'm Andy. If you don't know me, it's probably because I'm not famous. But I did start a men's grooming company called Harry's. The idea for Harry's came out of a frustrating experience I had buying razor blades. Most brands were overpriced, overdesigned, and out of touch. At Harry's, our approach is simple. Here's our secret. We make sharp, durable blades and sell them at honest prices for as low as $2 each. We care about quality so much that we do some crazy things, like buy a world-class German blade factory. Obsessing over every detail means we're confident in offering a 100% quality guarantee. Millions of guys have already made the switch to Harry's, so thank you if you're one of them. And if you're not, we hope you give us a try with this special offer. Get a Harry's starter set with a 5-blade razor, weighted handle, shave gel, and a travel cover, all for just $3 plus free shipping. Just go to harrys.com and enter 1616 at checkout. That's harrys.com, code 1616. Enjoy.
Divine Intervention is online at yourfortdodge.com, on Twitter at jmike1400.
This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. I'm Michael Devine. Of course, we're going to tell the truth, make it matter, and we're never going to be boring. We welcome to the program today Mr. Curtis Dean. Curtis, how are you?
I'm good, Mike. How are you?
And you're with what company now? You're a company of one, first of all, right?
I am a company of one, yes. I call that company of one Smart Source Consulting, but a lot of people just refer to it as Curtis's company. And I'm a consultant, and I'm based in Grimes, Iowa.
Now, yeah, again, I want to emphasize that you're one man running your own company with no without a lot of other consultants and engineers and on and on and on, as opposed to some of the people that you've been up against here lately. Yes. What were you going to say?
Oh, I was just going to say, my home office and the world headquarters is basically a spare bedroom in my house.
That's impressive. I like it.
Why, thank you. I try to keep it clean.
You have been consulting the city of Fort Dodge regarding broadband. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
And what has been your experience with city-owned broadband services in the past?
Well, I have some personal experience because I actually got my career start in telecommunications in Spencer, Iowa. And in Spencer, I was first a volunteer advocate, citizen, who advocated for a municipal telecommunications election there back in 1997. And a couple of years later, when the network was actually getting ready to be launched, I was fortunate enough to be hired to be the marketing and community relations person for Spencer Municipal Utilities. So I've been involved in the industry ever since then, first working at the Spencer Utilities for about 13 years. I then moved to Central Iowa and went to work for the Iowa Association of Municipal Utilities, which represents all of the city-owned utilities in the state of Iowa, including the telecommunications ones. Then 4 years ago, 4.5 years ago, actually, I decided to do this as a full-time occupation as an independent consultant.
What is your education and work experience, please? Beyond consultancy?
Besides consultancy, 13 years at Spencer Municipal Utilities. Prior to that, I was in the radio business, Mike.
Oh, no.
Oh, please don't hold that against me.
No. I understand. You probably got food stamps then, huh?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, a lot of help from everyone. The education, I received my bachelor's from Buena Vista University, and I have a master's of public administration through the University of South Dakota.
Okay, good enough. Your name, and I have made reference here to a new Facebook page called Vote No on Government Internet, which is a specious title if I ever heard it in my life. Government Internet. Oh, my God, the government. Shades of the X-Files. Coming out of the woodwork. Yep. Space aliens, government agents. Oh, no. And we're just trying to get better Internet service here. That's all. And I would like to point out, ladies and gentlemen, that Mediacom appears to have hired a consulting firm, a lobbying firm, to scare the people of Fort Dodge into voting no on city-owned broadband. They would rather do that than improve their customer service or their internet service. Now, that's me talking, not Mr. Dean. I don't want to I don't want to give anyone the wrong impression that Mr. Dean endorses my comments. But do you know anything about this group, the Taxpayer Protection Group, or whatever they are?
Yeah, actually, I do. The TPA has been around for a number of years, and they're an organization that was founded to advocate for different positions, but most of those positions are against government being involved in certain types of activities.
Mm-hmm.
Over the years, they have pretty consistently worked in the background to try to fight efforts for municipal broadband utilities, not just in Iowa, but in other parts of the nation. And they really became active in Iowa here earlier this year when they hired a former Iowa lawmaker to be their principal contact. And since then, that person has been appearing at city council, utility board meetings, and other events across Iowa in communities that are evaluating their options for municipal telecom. Because there's more that are doing this right now than just Fort Dodge.
And that person, of course, is Chip Baltimore, an attorney from Boone and former state representative. And I'm supposed to speak with Chip next week. And I'm reminded that Chip Baltimore, after we were refused a casino license here for the second time, and it mysteriously appeared in Jefferson, that Chip Baltimore remarked how brave the Racing and Gaming Commission was to put this casino in Jefferson. So I'm going to ask Chip about that and his involvement in helping move the casino not to Fort Dodge, but over to Jefferson. So I don't know if Chip is really a friend of our area or not. But have you met Chip Baltimore?
Yes, actually, he and I have joked to each other that because we end up going to a lot of the same meetings on different sides of the issue, that we should be carpooling to save everybody money.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we've met several times, and I think we have a decent relationship. Again, we don't agree on many of these issues, but I have nothing against him as an individual.
There was a broadband feasibility study in 2018 in the city of Decorah, beautiful town, of course.
Yes.
And apparently your name is on it, and the study showed that broadband feasibility, at least in Decorah, would not be a good idea. And that has been pushed forward by the Taxpayer Protection Association, which I think is a little bit misnamed, but it's a lobbying group after all. Could you explain how this worked its way into the conversation?
Yeah, well, I was involved kind of in the background with the Decorah study. Decorah's got a long history of, they've had two feasibility studies now. The first one was, in my own opinion, as a telecom professional, very poorly performed and did not really give city community leaders the information they needed to really determine whether a municipal system was a good idea or not. They did have a vote in 2015, which was approved by, I believe, 93% of the community. So they had the authorization from the voters to go out and explore. The first feasibility study, like I said, was pretty incomplete. And so what they did after several months of evaluation is they hired another firm called CCG Consulting. And CCG Consulting was hired to take a look at that first feasibility study, fill in the blanks from that first feasibility study, and also to help the city come up with some ideas about what their paths forward might be. CCG actually hired me for one little piece of it. My job was to work with the city and to try to identify people who would be willing to switch if the city were to build a network. Although the city had some survey data, they really wanted, before they would commit, they wanted to have a high percentage of people actually sign a pledge saying, if you build a network, I will switch services. So that was basically my task in Decorah. I coordinated that pledge card campaign over a series of weeks, but I was not involved in actually writing CCG's report, nor, in fact, had I actually read it until here a few days ago.
I bet it was a surprise
to see. Funny because mea culpa to me, right? I put on that Facebook page, I wasn't part of that report, and then, of course, they post a picture of the front page where my name is listed.
Correct.
And I think I was listed as a courtesy of the owner of CCG, who appreciated the work I did, but despite my name being on there, was not involved at all in writing that report, and like I said, had not actually read it until just a few days ago.
All right, we're talking with Mr. Curtis Dean. He is I'm sorry, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say, but that's my bad.
Okay.
I should have, before I posted that, I should have realized that. So
we're talking with Mr. Curtis Dean. He is the sole owner and the sole employee of Smart Source Consulting in Grimes. How did you come to be involved with the Fort Dodge project?
Well, it actually came about because I was speaking at a event in Iowa City earlier this year, before the Iowa Municipal Finance Officers Association. And I was invited to speak there about what different communities in Iowa are doing to try to improve their broadband service. And so I moderated a panel that consisted of community representatives from Decorah, as well as Vinton, and I believe there was a person there from Asbury, Iowa, which is up by Dubuque.
Yeah.
And it was after that meeting that I was introduced to David Fierk, who was in attendance, and he said to me, our council has asked us to do some research into broadband. They budgeted some money for feasibility. What would your approach look like? So I spelled out the approach that we would take, and the city decided that that's the approach they wanted to take. And the approach is essentially what I call a phased feasibility, where we first try to identify what the market looks like, and if people in the community are actually having the type of service that they feel they need. If we were to do that sort of work in a community where the providers are really doing a great job, then that would probably end the discussion right there. But in the case of Fort Dodge, we found a certain level of dissatisfaction there that has been revealed by comments and also the results of the survey. The approach that we took with the city was you do this pre-feasibility stage right now and decide what is the situation in Fort Dodge. And that also, in addition to identifying and giving citizens an opportunity to tell their stories and share their views, it also gives the city and potentially others an idea if there is an opportunity for someone, a different provider, public or private, to provide fiber optic service in Fort Dodge. If, again, approval and loyalty was high to existing providers, that would make it very tough for anybody to make a case that they could build a new network and start from zero and capture enough customers to be a viable system.
Is that what you found in Fort Dodge, or did you find something else in Fort Dodge?
Well, what we found so far, and again, the final report will be delivered to the council next week. So, right. But even the preliminary results that we delivered to the council back in August show a level of dissatisfaction among the people in the survey.
Curtis,
in the existing private.
Curtis, would you repeat that? You broke up and we lost you during
I'm sorry.
That's not your fault. We lost you right as you were beginning to explain what you found in Fort Dodge.
Can I blame my internet connection?
No, but I'll blame mine.
Okay, there you go. We're even. So when we reported to the council on a preliminary basis back in August, what we found at that time, based on some of the preliminary survey results, was that there was a pretty high level of dissatisfaction among Fort Dodge consumers in the existing providers that they have choices from. The two major large providers, the large cable company and the large telephone company, of course, covers by far the most of the citizens. There were a few people that had services from some other smaller providers, and actually their opinions about those smaller providers tended to be more positive. But overall, more people were negative about their experience than were positive. And so that preliminary information we presented to the council, and that was one of the reasons that they wanted that information, is to decide whether or not to put the referendum issue on the ballot, because if they were going to hold it in November and thus have it on an already existing election day in order to save money, they needed to know that by the end of August. So the preliminary results gave the council some comfort that placing it on the referendum on the ballot was a good move.
All right, we're talking again with Curtis Dean of Smart Source Consulting here at AM 1400, KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. How many towns have you worked with on projects like this in your career?
Directly, I've worked with about 6 or 7 on these types of studies. And indirectly, through my work both at Spencer Utilities and networking with my peers, but also through my work at the Iowa Association of Municipal Utilities, I've pretty much worked with all of the municipal telecom utilities in the state of Iowa, and we have quite a few. There are 26 right now that are cities that have city-owned telecommunications networks.
Now, of those who have their city-owned broadband, and I'm assuming that they moved to city-owned broadband after having another provider, of those cities, how many of them have been satisfied with the switch to city-owned broadband, and were the taxpayers put on the hook, so to speak, at some point after they went to city-owned broadband to pay for the service or the construction or the fiber optics, that sort of thing?
Well, I'll answer the second one first because it's easy. The answer is no. There haven't been any tax burdens placed on any of the taxpayers in any of the cities.
All right, Curtis, let me stop you right there. So you've been involved in 26 towns who switched to city broadband, and none of them, not one, found themselves with a tax burden on the citizens at a later date.
Correct.
All right. Thank you, sir.
I can't speak to what communities in other states have done because I haven't worked
understand.
with them personally. Yeah,
I'm sure communities in other states, as has been quoted by the TPA, have failed. But I'm thinking that those are definitely minority cases. But I'm sorry. Go continue, please.
Oh, no, that's okay. So I've worked with all of those communities. The ones that I've worked with directly, especially with the consulting hat on here in the past 4.5 to 5 years, have been the cities of Charles City, New Hampton, Maquoketa, Pella. I did some work for the community of Adair in western Iowa. I'm doing a study similar to Fort Dodge is being done now in Montgomery County in southwest Iowa, and doing some work for the town of Tipton, Iowa. And, the phone rings every once in a while and somebody says, hey, can you come down and talk to our council or utility board about this? So it's kind of an ever-evolving space that I'm working in. I've also been involved in a couple of studies outside of the state of Iowa, Davis, California, and also one in Paynesville, Ohio. But those I was kind of a subcontractor, and I was primarily doing some stakeholder interviews as part of that.
Well, as I recall, Davis, California is a suburb of Los Angeles, isn't it?
It is, and
they went to city-owned broadband.
They're talking about it.
Okay.
They have not done anything yet. Yeah, they were doing a feasibility study, and CCG Consulting, the same company that worked in Decorah, was working with them, and then CCG hired me to do some interviews one-on-one with some of the key business people, industry leaders, educational institutions, and that sort of thing.
Sure.
My understanding, Davis has not moved forward with that yet, although they are looking at a plan to at least provide enhanced fiber optic services in their central business district.
Getting back to your the 26 towns that you did work on here in Iowa, were there any major problems in those towns as a result of the construction of the telecom infrastructure? Did everything go to on as it should have? Were there any major problems, I should ask?
Well, one thing to keep in mind is every community is different, right? So most of these communities, quite frankly, are quite a bit smaller than Fort Dodge.
Right.
The only community in Iowa with an operational utility that's bigger than Fort Dodge is Cedar Falls, and they were one of the first. So we have communities ranging anywhere in population from 800 to 8,500 that are in the business today. Spencer being probably the third or fourth largest, Muscatine also being a larger community. And so smaller communities, because of the economies of scale with building a network, it's a little tougher for them. And also because their marketplace is pretty restrained, as with most small towns, they don't grow as fast as larger towns. Their revenues don't grow as high over time. So for them, the payback on building a municipal utility might be longer than, say, a larger community where you have more people and you have the opportunity for growth through population growth and through new businesses and industries moving to town. But overall, if we look at the communities in Iowa that have municipal broadband, the take rates, in other words, the percentage of people in those communities that take services, one or more service from the city-owned system, those take rates average somewhere between 60 and 80%. Most of them are above 70%, and a couple of them are in the 80s and 90s, which means that in a competitive marketplace, going up against some of the same providers you have in Fort Dodge, those community-owned networks are winning based on competition. They're winning with
That's key,
rates
isn't
that are
it?
reasonable.
I mean,
yeah, it absolutely is.
what is a free market economy without competition? What is a free market economy? Then we have what's called a monopoly, and that's what Mediacom has in our town right now, a monopoly. So these voices out there that are telling us not to get a city-owned broadband are in favor of a monopoly of sorts. Mr. Curtis Dean is our guest, and I want to talk with you at a later date, Mr. Dean. We are running out of time here just a little bit. I do have one more question. Is it safe to say, or can you weigh in on this at all, that the smaller towns, like we had a little community of Lauraville just to the south here, 400 people, and they're getting fiber optic. And a lot of the areas around us are getting fiber optic. We seem to be in an internet hole here, I believe, as the city manager described.
You are.
I would like to... Mediacom denied that, by the way, at the first meeting I went to, that there's no such thing as a hole. Or they were surprised to hear it, I should say, that we were in a hole.
You're in a hole of community of people who have fiber all the way to their homes.
Okay, that's fine.
And I think what Mediacom argues is, we have plenty of fiber. And they do have a lot of fiber in their network. Actually, so does Frontier. It's just they're not choosing to use fiber optic as the final connection to your home, and that's where the constraint is on capacity, speed, reliability, et cetera.
Why? Why aren't they using fiber optic?
Well, it's essentially an economic decision.
Certainly is, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, you got to remember the large companies like Frontier and Mediacom they're in the business to produce profit.
Of course.
Just like any other for-profit business in the country.
That's right.
And so they have to be very careful about where they put their capital investments. And they're going to put those capital investments into things that will have a quick rate of return and in areas that will have a quick rate of return. That's why you see large phone companies, not necessarily Frontier because they've been kind of slow on this, but larger phone companies like, say, CenturyLink and Windstream, they're actually doing some fiber to the home. But they're doing it in fairly well-off metropolitan areas. I have fiber to the home from CenturyLink right where I'm sitting at my home office in Grimes, Iowa. 2 blocks north of me in Grimes, Iowa, you can't get 7 meg DSL from the same provider because they built my network 4 years ago that serves my house. The network to those other homes 2 blocks north, they built 6 years ago, and the economics flipped on them. And so it's a matter of dollars and cents. And I always tell people this, they're not good guys and bad guys here. It's just that the financial model that we operate telecommunications in this country does not permit many private companies, not all, but many, to make investments that take more than 10 years to recover.
Well,
they want their money back in a few years.
Now, this leads me to the very last question, I promise. Is it safe to say that Mediacom doesn't want to provide this service to Fort Dodge because they're making too much money, and they really don't care about towns like Lauraville or Gowrie or some of the smaller towns in our area? Those people can go ahead and get their own fiber optics if they want to. But because they couldn't go into Lauraville, for example, with a population of 400, with any expectation of making a turn on their investment. In Fort Dodge, it's worked out pretty well for them. So rather than invest money in customer service and improved internet service, they're willing to fight to keep us where we are. That last part was probably an opinion, Curtis.
Yeah, I won't. I'll let you have your own opinion. I certainly won't necessarily attach myself to that. But what I will tell you is there are private companies in the world that do take a longer-term view on returning their investments. And those companies that are out there serving communities like Cedar Rapids, that are planning to build services in Iowa City, Dubuque, Lincoln, Nebraska, and other communities in the Midwest, they are interested in bringing services to communities like, say, Fort Dodge, that they can demonstrate that there is a good market for it. And one of the goals of this study was not just to come up with some justification for the city to build a fiber network, but it was also to prove that there is indeed a market for somebody who can provide fast, affordable, reliable service with excellent customer care. And that's really what the study is going to help. Whether the city builds it or not is going to be partially up to the voters.
Well, I can't believe the state of Iowa did this, but they did give Mediacom a statewide franchise of sorts.
Yeah, that was part of a legislative effort a few years ago.
Yeah.
So there really is not a lot of local control, at least on that end. And actually, there's not a lot of regulatory hitches that any telecom provider needs to go through, whether it's state or federal.
Oh, absolutely. I was on the cable commission here in town. It was disbanded after, I left it some years before Mediacom got the franchise, but
Sure,
I
sure.
could see it coming. Certainly, everybody could, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
I hope we can talk again about this subject after the feasibility report has been released. And from what I understand, it's going to be Monday at 5:00 over at City Hall during the council meeting, or prior to the council meeting. So our guest has been Mr. Curtis Dean of Smart Source Consulting. Thank you, sir, for being on the air with us.
Thank you, Mike. My pleasure. Have a great weekend.
You too. This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
Do you ever get tired of watching bad things happen to people?
Sticking up for you when no one else will.
That's right. We're sticking up for you when no one else will. Melvin Newsom's in the studio. We'll talk with him in about 30 seconds.
Blue Ribbon, Pelham Waters, your water pro since 1949.
Who would have thought there'd be entire aisles devoted to bottled water, and that people would buy more water than pop? I'm Brian with Blue Ribbon Pelham Waters here in Fort Dodge. Spring water, drinking water, mineral water. There's so many choices, and we're proud to offer you them all. From our own refreshingly pure drinking water to ultra-pure Mountain Valley spring water, Blue Ribbon Pelham's is your complete water store.
Michael Devine, the Doctor of Truth.
Does anyone have anything they'd like to confess?
That AM 1400 KVFD.
That's right. I am the Doctor of Truth, and joining me here is Melvin Newsom, who's running for council at large here in town. Melvin, how you doing?
Great. Doing good today.
We're going to straighten out this whole Eugene Melvin thing because you prefer Melvin.
Yeah, my whole family, that's what I grew up with, and I started running for office. They said, well, what's on your driver's license? So they started with Eugene. I said, okay, that'll work. Most people, majority, know me by Melvin.
I was going to say, I've seen people refer to you, people that you know, and they always call you Melvin.
Absolutely.
I think that's why I asked a number of years ago what you preferred, and you told me Melvin.
Yeah.
I got that problem, too. My name's James Michael, but my old man insisted on calling me Mike for some reason. He was kind of an eccentric man.
I answer to either one.
Yeah.
Just like you. They don't. They can call me anything or refer to me. Just don't call me after it's all over. I like to be involved.
Sure. You and I were on the Cable Commission years ago. Remember that?
Absolutely, I remember.
But we got wiped out of that Cable Commission when Mediacom got a statewide franchise.
Yep.
So we talked last night at the candidate forum, not you and I personally, but all the candidates were there. Of course, you were there, and you're running for the at-large seat, and your opponent is Nevin Conrad. And you heard some of the things that were said about broadband service and the controversy. I shouldn't say controversy, but the vote coming up November 5th as to whether we should have city-owned broadband service. Do you have... Can you tell us which way you would vote, assuming you were on the council?
Yep. Already voted for it on the ballot.
Yeah.
Because I know that's the initial thing we need to do.
Right.
Before anything happens. So I want to be flexible and have time to think it over and look at it, and I've thought about getting other providers to come put in.
Sure.
Hughes, Century 21. They send letters all the time, and I'm thinking about, well, what about this company that's local? Should we pay tax here or send the tax out of? So I'm just waiting to see and get more information on it.
Melvin Newsom is our guest. You're running part of your thing, and you've run for other things. County supervisor, you've run for a lot of things over the years.
Yep.
But every time you have run, I've heard you say that you'd like to find something for young people to do in Fort Dodge. Is that still a thing you got going on?
That's still a thing. There's two priorities with me running for city council, and the first one, like I said, there's 7 seats, 1 for each ward, and 3 that covers the entire city. And I just believe it's only fair that a minority have one of the seats. We got one minority. Well, no, women are not minority, but they had to struggle to get their equal representation in order to vote, suffrage, and all of that. So I think it'll be a little more. This is a way for the city and the people, the majority, to recognize the minority.
Well, Janie Burleson was on the council 24 years, something like that.
Yeah, and I think I can say with some accuracy that a lot of people didn't like the way things was going on in that period.
What do you'll have to explain that a little bit. What are you talking about?
Well, a lot of people think she didn't represent them that good.
You mean black people?
Black people. I say black people because we got other minorities in town.
Sure, of course.
We got Native Americans, Mexicans,
Old white
Hispanic.
guys, don't forget them.
Yeah. Old timers.
Old guys, yeah.
So, but that was a popular belief, and I love Jane Burleson. There's a connection of relatives between my family and her family. So, but that's what the people told me.
You know, Melvin, I want to ask you about something, and you can take it back to your plans to find entertainment venues for young people if you want. But you've said, I think you might have said this last night, that that in the black community, when there's a crime, black folks just aren't going to cooperate with police.
No.
Well, you see this poster of Malcolm X over here on my wall.
Yep.
And I read his autobiography years ago.
Oh, yes.
And he talked about black separatism. That was his thing. Elijah Muhammad's thing was black separatism.
Yep.
In other words, a nation in a nation. He was a member of the Nation of Islam.
Right.
And they believe they are a nation within the United States.
Yeah. It's like some foreign country here.
Yeah, right.
Sitting in the United States.
Well, I'm asking you if that isn't what's going on in Fort Dodge. Is there a community in a community?
There's I believe there's like a undercurrent of dissatisfaction about not being in a neighborhood people feel inclusive. They don't figure they got no voice to say anything. Just take it or leave it, go along, keep your mouth shut, and.
What do you mean? Black people are thinking to go along and keep your mouth shut and don't say anything?
Exactly.
Why do they feel that way?
I don't know all the answers. I've been studying that. As long as I've been running for city council, I keep asking myself, is it me or is it racism? What is it? And I don't actually believe it's racism, see.
Are you talking about white racism or the...
white racism.
All right.
I think there's some people in this town, and they, since I've been running for office, I did research every time I do research. I can't do research no more. The people controlling the legislature, they get all the records and keep them there now. You got to call them for what you want to find out.
Can't you find it on the internet? I don't know how to do it personally.
No. I asked them, I had to send them, use my debit card to see how
Is that right?
people voted here. And they sent me a big box of papers, and it wasn't what I asked for. But as far as separatism, I was running with Webster County supervisor once, you know. And I think it was the time when some of my ballots were thrown out.
That was a little... I remember that. That was several years ago.
Yeah,
and you may have gotten hosed there.
That was 2000. I was running.
Was that 2000?
Yeah, I was running against a white female opponent.
Chill, yeah.
Yeah, and I admired Jill.
Oh, I like her very much. I've known her a long time.
Yeah, I met up with her out at Venta Vista when I was taking classes, and she didn't do it.
No, I don't think so, no.
She didn't.
She was Jill Kirkberg at the time.
Yeah, I don't believe she had nothing. But at that time, I was saying if I had the money, I'd go down 169 south or north and find some acreage and open up another town for black people.
Well, that is the black separatist idea.
Yeah, but it's on record. It's in the paper. It's in the archives. I said that, and I don't regret saying it.
Well, Malcolm X wanted us to give the Nation of Islam Arkansas. I was okay with it. Give them Arkansas. That's a great idea.
Because on that subject, you can. None of the ideas was bad. They talk about doing everything for themselves, raising food.
That was all a great idea. I agreed with it 100%.
What was wrong with that?
Nothing. And the only problem, no, you're absolutely 100% right. They're going to have their own schools. They're going to have all of these things. And Malcolm X insisted on that black people shop in black stores. That more and more people get into business, black people get into business, and that everybody should then support those stores. I don't have any problem with that at all. The problem I have is when there's a serious crime that's been committed, like a shooting. Now, anyone who's shooting up the streets is a threat to black people, white people, and everybody who lives here.
Got to get rid of them.
Got to get rid of them, and that's what law enforcement is for. So that's the real question I have for you is should the black community cooperate with the police when there's somebody shooting up the St. Edmund neighborhood, for example?
But see, that's where I come into the picture. I've talked to people, and I know things that goes on in the town.
Sure. Me too, buddy.
I could tell you some things, but I can't betray my trust.
No, I don't expect you to do that. I don't expect you to do that.
As far as I hesitated when they first started talking about cameras. I don't hesitate anymore. I will go to my neighbor and ask him, I already had asked him. I spoke to the guy at the desk up there at the law enforcement center about putting some cameras over here at North 9th Street and North 4th Avenue North. This was years ago.
That's where the first cameras should go over there. You know why I think that? Because I live over there.
Yeah. I said, you need to have the guys come down here and cut some of these trees down because they keep all these blind spots at night.
Sure.
People walking through there, you don't see them coming. They walk out in the street. And I said, I don't like this. People moving in that kind of motion around in the hour of darkness. So, some people see just like one end. I'll give you this much though. If like a serious crime happen and somebody lose their life as a fatality, they will tell you. I'm talking about I don't know.
Well, we had that young Preston man shot and thrown out in the field like a dog here north of town a couple of years ago.
Yep.
That's not the only unsolved murder we have.
No.
Woody got killed up in the northwest part of town.
It's 304, and there was a woman was we speculate was a homicide.
Yeah.
Happened up there by that bar around the roundabout.
Yeah.
Upstairs.
So some people know. Probably a lot of people know.
And I started to bring that up a lot of times, but then I said, well, I'd rather wait and see if I can get elected to city council. and then maybe I could have access to
maybe you could have access.
People.
All right. Well, we'll see how that works
attorney, some detectives.
Sure.
Sit down and have a conversation with them.
Melvin Newsom is running for council at large. Melvin, I welcome you back again before the election. Yeah. And I always appreciate you coming in. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge.
Need a new roof?
Have you considered that there's very few roofers to choose from, and come September, everyone at once will decide their roof must be completed before winter? The last thing you want is the winter roof that will never seal properly, or an improperly installed roof done by a contractor you may never see again. Don't wait any longer. Call Hahn Roofing today, and in most cases, they can start your project within 2 weeks and finish within 1 or 2 days. Call Hahn Roofing today for your free estimate. 515-573-7440. That's Hahn Roofing, 515-573-7440.
We are the land of the free because of the brave. Alpha Media and Graham Tire want to thank our local military men and women for their service. Our Wall of the Brave is currently displayed at Graham Tire of Fort Dodge. We invite you to stop out to Graham Tire and sign the wall as a show of support for our military. This special veterans promotion is sponsored by Graham Tire of Fort Dodge, Farm Nutrients, Advanced Heating and Cooling, River Valley Winery and Orchards, the Co-op Bar and Grill, and Alpha Media Fort Dodge.
Meaningful memorialization starts when loved ones talk about what matters most.
Grandpa, this card asks, what was your favorite vacation?
Well, we didn't go on vacation when I was a kid, but our family did go fishing when we could. My dad could always find the best fishing holes, and he taught me how to clean the fish, too.
You mean you ate the fish you caught?
You bet.
Sharing stories and memories with those who matter most isn't just important today, it will be especially significant when it's time to honor a life lived. Contact Gunderson Funeral Home to learn more about having the talk of a lifetime.
All right, thanks to Melvin Newsom, City Council candidate, Council Large candidate. 4 o'clock in the afternoon, Randy Kuhlman and I will talk sports in a little bit. Our jet-setting partner, Nevin, is apparently not going to show up today because he's going to be on the French Riviera somewhere. I don't know.
Hi, this is Gary Rima, the voice of the University of Northern Iowa Panthers, and this is the home for Panther sports, the voice of Fort Dodge, KVFD, Fort Dodge.
This is a Fox News alert. The GM strike is over. I'm Lisa Brady. We're just getting word about the strike ending. 49,000 workers hit the picket lines against General Motors 40 days ago, but enough have now voted for the proposed contract to end it. The strike crippled production, costing the company an estimated $2 billion, along with hundreds of millions for workers. A document dump coming in the impeachment probe. A federal judge gives House Democrats what they wanted: more information from the Russia probe.
Under the ruling, the Justice Department must turn over to the House Judiciary Committee normally secret grand jury material collected as part of special counsel Robert Mueller's investigation. Judge Beryl Howe repeatedly noted in her ruling that the House is conducting an impeachment inquiry into President Trump, which could be assisted with the grand jury material. The judge dismissed arguments by the DOJ and congressional Republicans that the House's impeachment inquiry is illegitimate because the House has not held a formal vote to authorize such a probe.
Fox's John Decker at the White House, just days after stirring controversy by likening the impeachment probe to a lynching. The president visits a historically black school, Benedict College in South Carolina.
I will say this, and I really say this with great confidence: the best is yet to come.
His speech, part of a criminal justice forum being held there. He also offered condolences to the family of Congressman Elijah Cummings. This as 2 former presidents attended the funeral for Cummings in Baltimore.
No matter how hard he fought and how passionately he argued, he tried to treat everybody the way he wanted to be treated.
Bill Clinton and Barack Obama each appearing to criticize the current president at times.
There's nothing weak about kindness and compassion. There's nothing weak about looking out for others.
House Speaker Nancy Pelosi also there just 2 days after her own brother's funeral, a former Baltimore mayor. America's listening to Fox News.
Mike Capel here, serial entrepreneur with words from another happy payroll customer.
I've used it for a year now, and I've worried 0 time. I just enter in the time, it's calculated, and it's taken out of bank account, and it's just done. I love it.
Visit us at patriotsoftware.com. Use promo code RADIO and get 2 months of payroll free. That's patriotsoftware.com.
Accounting and payroll, keep your time and money.
When you fire up a John Deere 1 Series tractor, you can tackle the job without wrestling the attachments. Hook up everything from a front loader to a drive-over mower deck in no time, so you can haul gravel, cut grass, or do any job in between. Because when things just click, work just gets done. And now get a 1 Series for just $99 a month at your nearest participating John Deere dealer. Nothing runs like a Deere. Run with us. Search John Deere 1 Series for more. 0% annual percentage rate. For additional cost information, please call toll-free 855-633-2315.
California's governor declares a state of emergency in 2 counties where wildfire battles continue.
The largest fires in Sonoma County. The Kincaid fire was estimated as of Friday morning to be nearly 22,000 acres. Roughly 2,000 people in Geyserville have been evacuated, and 49 homes and other structures have burned. Despite power shutoffs done to try to avoid wildfire, it looks like a PG&E transmission tower malfunctioned at the origin of this fire start. Now, the Tick fire in North Los Angeles has prompted evacuation orders for 40,000 residents.
I've been here since 2004, never seen fire like this so fast and how bad it got.
The winds at times have gusted above 40 miles per hour. Some homes were damaged or destroyed in this fire, but it was not immediately clear yet how many. Jessica Rosenthal, Fox News.
2 tropical storms just named. Olga in the Gulf of Mexico expected to hit a cold front soon and become a post-tropical low, and Pablo in the northeast Atlantic. That one is small and heading southeast. Twitter's chief joins the chorus of critics taking aim at how Facebook handles political free speech.
Twitter CEO Jack Dorsey tells a crowd during a recent news summit, Facebook allowing false and misleading political ads on the platform is a major gap and flaw in its free speech argument. The social network and its chief, Mark Zuckerberg, have been defending the controversial policy, saying folks should be able to see for themselves what politicians are saying. Dorsey says, "We don't talk about amplification," suggesting there is a big difference between the right to speak and the right to have one's words bolstered with paid promotions.
Fox's Kristen Goodwin. Game 3 of the World Series tonight, and the Nationals are hosting this time the first World Series game in Washington since 1933. The Houston Astros are trailing 2-0. I'm Lisa Brady. This is Fox News.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
With your KVFD News Update, I'm Rob Jones. There was a candidate forum last night at Friendship Haven Celebration Center. The candidates running for the Fort Dodge City Council seats that are up for election on this year's ballot were in attendance. Those 6 candidates included Councilman Nevin Conrad, Melvin Newsom. Those 2 are facing each other for the at-large seat. The second ward candidates, Justin Myers and Andy Fritz, and the candidates for the 3rd Ward seat, Councilman Dave Flattery and Richard Higgins. The forum featured questions from the public. One of the major topics of discussion in the forum was the upcoming referendum on if the city should create a municipal broadband utility. In sports, Week 9 of high school football, the regular season finale under the lights tonight. All games are available online at yourfortdodge.com. 6:45 pregame show and a 7 p.m. kickoff. On 92 Rock, the Fort Dodge Dodgers are at home hosting Marshalltown. Both teams come in 5-3. The Dodgers coming off a win against Sioux City West 57-0 last week. A trip to the playoffs is on the line, and if the Dodgers want to keep their season alive, tonight is a must-win. Coach Matt Miller says his guys are ready to go.
I know just sitting there visiting with our kids and our staff as we get ready, they're ready to roll. As one of our things I've always said, you got 48 minutes to play and a lifetime to remember.
With a win tonight, Coach Matt Miller could become the all-time winningest coach in Dodger football history. The Dodgers will have a spirit walk presented by the Dodger Gridiron Club outside of Dodger Stadium tonight at 5:30. On Sunday, 99.7, the St. Edmund Gales are at Manson Northwest Webster in the regular season finale. Manson Northwest Webster coming off a win against Ridgeview. The Gales have lost their last 5 games in a row and look to get back in the win column tonight. On 105.9 The Beach, join veteran area sportscasters Mark Williamson and Brian Peters as they bring you the call as South Central Calhoun hosts Pocahontas area. Tonight marks the regular season finale senior night for South Central Calhoun, and Coach Brian Case said the message to his team is clear.
Word of the week this week is family. There's always going to be some struggles within families. You're always going to have some differences and so forth. But at the same time, you're always going to have each other's back. This is our seniors' last regular season game, and it's everybody's responsibility to make sure that they go out on top.
South Central Calhoun can finish the regular season undefeated and clinch the district title tonight. Here's Coach Case on winning the district title.
By the RPI, we have a good possibility of being district champions anyway, just because of the RPI. We want to be outright district champions, and the only way to make that happen is by winning this football game.
For KVFD from the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom, I'm Rob Jones.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD weatherology forecast. Sunny skies this afternoon with highs around 54. Southerly winds 8 to 15 miles per hour. Lows level off around 32. Tonight, clear skies and quiet. Clear skies tomorrow, highs around 56. Partly cloudy Sunday with highs in the upper 40s. Chance for scattered rain showers Monday. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Currently, it's 54.
Blue Ribbon, Pelham Waters, your water pro since 1949.
Do you have questions about your water? What is a whole home filter? Is my softener working or not? Can I get rid of that red stain around the sink? I'm Brian with Blue Ribbon Pelham Waters. We're here to fix problem water. We'll work with you to find the right solution for you. We've been serving the Fort Dodge area since 1949. Let us serve your water treatment needs. Sales, service, rentals. Blue Ribbon Pelham Waters, your complete water store.
Ladies and gentlemen, are you ready? Alpha Media presents Elvis. That's right, Elvis is back. Alpha Media is proud to present the Elvis Rock and Remember Tribute Christmas Show with Joseph Hall. This special night of Christmas magic with Elvis will be Friday night, December 6th in the Cardiff Center at Fort Frenzy. Doors open at 5:30 and the Elvis Rock and Remember Tribute Christmas Show starts at 7. Tickets are $20 in advance or $25 at the door. Get your tickets now at Hy-Vee Fort Dodge, the Iowa Outdoor Store, Fort Frenzy, or get them at our Alpha Media Studios. Bring the whole family to see this tribute to the King of Rock and Roll and enjoy this amazing Christmas show. The Elvis Rock and Remember Tribute Christmas Show is brought to you in part by United Bank of Iowa and Fort Dodge, Pocahontas, Rolfe, and Rockwell City, Advanced Heating and Cooling of Fort Dodge, North Central Iowa Supply and Hardware Hank of Humboldt, and Riley Armstrong Plumbing and Heating. The Elvis Rock and Remember Tribute Christmas Show is an Alpha Media event.
Having a high-yield harvest matters. Having a positive ROI matters even more. NK's broad genetic portfolio was developed using advanced technologies and traits, plus the latest data analytics, so we can recommend products that deliver the value you need to help maximize your operation's profit potential.
In this area, check out S27 M8X brand. This variety offers first-class performance in any growing season. Ask your NK retailer about S27 M8X brand and other top-performing products.
You could win a pair of premium tickets to an Iowa Hawkeye football game from the Iowa Lottery. 17 winners will receive a prize package for the Illinois versus Iowa game on November 23rd. The Kinnick Gridiron giveaway package includes 2 tickets in the new North End Zone Ironman box, plus Iowa Hawkeye and Iowa Lottery merchandise, $100 spending cash, and more. Enter the Kinnick Gridiron giveaway online today with a current Iowa Powerball ticket. For rules and complete details, visit ialottery.com.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
Do you ever get tired of watching bad things happen to people?
Sticking up for you when no one else will.
That's right. That's what we're doing, sticking up for you when no one else will at AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. This is one of the more fun times of the week here at KVFD. Fridays, we talk sports with Randy Kuhlman and Nevin Mulholland, but of course, we're short the jet setter here today, aren't we, Randy?
Yes, we are. He's out of town today.
He's out of town. He says.
I think he took a 3-day weekend.
He did.
Yeah.
Well, he probably deserved
good for him.
Good for him. Yeah. Why not? Today was a good day, and it's supposed to be a halfway decent weekend. We should. I took 2 3-day weekends in a row earlier this month because I knew the bad weather was coming, and I took a couple days off.
Did you?
I took a couple of vacation days around Thanksgiving and a couple around Christmas and New Year's, but that's holidays.
Right.
Yeah, so if I need to drive somewhere, I got the time. Anyway, we're going to talk sports today. First of all, I'm a little surprised. I know you're not the Cub fan that Nevin and I are, but I'm a little surprised in their selection of David Ross, former Cub catcher, as manager of the Chicago Cubs. Now, apparently they selected David Ross, who has no coaching experience at all of any kind, never apparently even coached high school ball. And now he's the manager of a Major League Baseball team, and it appears, listening to Theo Epstein, the general manager, that one of the reasons they picked David Ross is he's liked in the clubhouse.
Mm-hmm.
The players, a lot of them who played with him, like David Ross.
He was a leader on that World championship team they had a few years ago.
I think he was.
Yeah.
And I think he was one of the older guys ever to hit a home run in the World Series.
Yeah.
He was 39 years old.
Wow.
And I remember when he clocked it, I thought it was an earlier inning, but I think it was in the 6th inning, I believe the paper said this morning. But yeah, that being what it is, I'm still surprised that they didn't get an actual coach,
Well, they interviewed Girardi, and I saw where Girardi took the Philadelphia job.
He took the Philadelphia job, yeah.
I thought he would be the better choice, but it's interesting. It's your comment about he's got a good relationship with the guys in the clubhouse. Probably shows you that managing these days anymore is more about psychology than anything else.
Well, you and I and Nevin have talked about this before. How do you manage 25-year-old multimillionaires?
Exactly. Exactly.
And the guys make a lot more money than you do. You're making $2 million a year, and you're thinking, "Hey, I'm doing fine." This kid over here is making a lot more.
Yeah, yeah. It's and then that's true in football and basketball as well. Really, and basketball is even worse. I think because they all have egos, but those basketball players, when you're a superstar, you can dominate your team, and then all of a sudden you're more important than the coach. And LeBron is a classic example of that. How many coaches has he gotten fired over the years?
Oh man.
And so it's it's a different ballgame with a manager is I think people felt like the Cubs this year. For whatever reason, they just didn't respond to Madden. They didn't, he just couldn't seem to get them. I don't know what to say, that they weren't motivated, but they just didn't seem to have that edge.
Well, my son is a Cub fan. Growing up in the same house with me, he'd have to be, I suppose. But he has noted, and other Cub fans have noted, that Theo Epstein may be the problem.
Really?
And Nevin and I, and you, there was an article in ESPN probably a couple years ago, called The Mastermind, and it was about Theo Epstein and the success he had with the Boston Red Sox and the success he had with the Chicago Cubs. But it appears that the Boston Red Sox, after Epstein left, had the same problems that the Cubs experienced last year or the last couple of years, in that they couldn't find a leadoff hitter. They had no farm system, quality farm system to pick from, and no relief pitchers.
Right.
And now, of course, the Yankees put Chapman up on the mound the other night against the Astros, and Altuve hit one out to end the series, to end the playoffs. So, but those are valid criticisms.
Yeah, yeah. But you look at the World Series now. 2-0 favor the Nats, and I haven't watched all of it. I've watched quite a bit though, and that pitching for the Nationals has just absolutely quieted the Houston's bat.
That's something, isn't it?
It really is.
I have not followed the Nationals,
and with a lot of strikeouts. I mean,
Lots.
they're not even putting the ball in play.
But who's known for pitching? As far as I'm concerned, the Astros are one of the teams with a couple of superstars in Cole and Verlander.
Yeah.
And the Nationals. Those are the guys the Nationals beat them like they were standing still.
Yeah. And typically really good pitching will beat good hitting. And
that's exactly right.
That's what we're seeing right now. It'll be interesting to see if the Astros can bounce back. But
tough row, man.
Tough row down 2-0
to Washington.
Yeah, exactly. So, but baseball, you get hot, you get cold, and you just got to get hot at the right time.
Yeah, that's right. So, and I've whined several times on the air that right around the 1st of August, the Cubs were in front in their division by 4 games.
Right.
And blew the whole thing.
Yep.
Now, the Cardinals came on strong. I really expected the Cardinals to be in the series.
Cardinals got hot, and the Cubs went on a losing streak, and that was the end of that.
Yeah, well, the Cardinals didn't have a good time after beating the Cubs.
No.
Maybe it was satisfying because they're old rivals, but, man, the Nationals stepped on them. So that's quite a thing.
You bet.
It's interesting to watch these balls. Of course, I picked the New York Yankees to be in the World Series and win. And the Yankees fell apart, and they fell apart. And I shouldn't say that they fell apart necessarily, but they had such superior pitching that Houston did. And that's why I was kind of thinking that Houston would look better in the series, and they still might. But if you're 2-0 in the hole, and you're going back to Washington, that's never good.
Lose 2 at home. That's your percentages aren't very good. That's for sure.
No.
So.
By the way, the NBA season just started. Of course, Randy and Nevin are big basketball fans, and I did watch as Kawhi Leonard of the Clippers.
All right.
Kawhi Leonard.
We're getting you hooked.
Well, I've had to try to keep up with you two guys who seem to know, for God's sake, who's an assistant coach in 1985, for God's sake. I mean, you guys are out there when it comes to inside basketball stuff. But I was very impressed at the way Kawhi Leonard handled LeBron James. You know, he was in James's face all night. I mean, nobody's going to shut down LeBron James altogether. But boy, did Kawhi Leonard put it.
Yeah. Excuse me. I didn't think LeBron had a very good game, and I don't know if it's because Kawhi's and he's a very good defender, but I just thought LeBron looked like he was a step slow the first night, and maybe this is what his 17th season or something. It's amazing.
He's
and
36, 37 years old.
And so he may be. We'll have to see if he is as good as he was 3-4 years ago or not. But it'll be an interesting season because there's been so many players that have moved around. The teams are brand new. You know, you got last night Houston, and they've got Westbrook now, and the Clippers look good. I mean, they blew out. They beat the Lakers in the opening game, and then they blew out Golden State last night. So. And a lot of people are picking the Clippers to win it all this year, and that would be an in-your-face insult in L.A. to the Lakers if the Clippers could be the top team in the league. So
one game can't define that, but it could be a combination of LeBron James' age. He's a terrific basketball player.
Oh yeah,
I have watched him in awe over the many years. It was one thing to watch Bill Russell and Wilt Chamberlain when I was a kid, when you and I were kids, but Chamberlain was like 7'2". Is that when he was playing with the Lakers? My God, that reach he had was ridiculous.
Yeah.
But LeBron James is like 6'8", and I think Kawhi Leonard's right in there somewhere.
6'9", yeah.
Yeah, right.
Not near as physically strong as LeBron, but he's a good player. There's no question about that.
Well, maybe if LeBron retires from basketball, he can go play tight end for the Vikings.
Yeah.
He's got the build to do it. This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. I'm talking sports today with Randy Kuhlman. Nevin Mulholland usually joins us, but he's gone somewhere. So I know you're happy that the NBA season is back on the air.
Oh yeah. I like to. I'm not a diehard. I used to be a big Bulls fan, but the Bulls team is and they may be improved this year, but I've always been interested in Bulls. There always seemed to be an Iowa connection there or something, and when Hoiberg was there, I enjoyed rooting for the Bulls, and I thought the front office really did a dirty deed to Hoiberg. They kind of used him as a interim coach while they're trying to rebuild, and then used him as an excuse and fired him. But but I enjoy the athleticism and skill level in the NBA is just amazing. And so
it really is, isn't
yeah.
it?
It's just
if you see basketball games from the 70s, and I was a Julius Erving fan back there. If I'm not I'm not the basketball fan you and Nevin were, but if Julius was on TV, I tuned in, and he was a great player. But he could play in the league today, but the players around him couldn't. I mean, on his own.
Everybody's bigger, faster, stronger.
Oh man, are they ever?
But the thing that is amazing is how easy and effective they are at shooting that long three ball. It's just amazing. It's almost like a routine jump shot for many of these guys anymore, and it's just
it's a routine jump.
Yeah, and then you've got college basketball is going to be kicking off here in about a week and a half, and then you're getting hot and heavy into the final half of the college football season, and that's always interesting because the games seem to get more important each and every week, especially if you're in the running for your conference title or trying to get position yourself for the playoffs or whatever, and so it's a fun time of the year, no question about it, and again this weekend the Clones have another big game with Oklahoma State coming in to Jack Trice, and I haven't been real impressed with Oklahoma State, so I really don't think. I think Iowa State will handle them. I mean,
most people think that, yeah.
Yeah.
Oklahoma's a different story, but Oklahoma.
Oh yeah, but Oklahoma State is not the same program right now that they were 3 years ago. When they were throwing it all over the football field, and they had that Mason Rudolph, who's now the quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Right.
But they still. They still have a good offense. Their defense is pretty mediocre. I think Iowa State will score a lot of points on them. Iowa State is playing extremely well, in my opinion, right now, and they're clicking on all cylinders, boy. And then the captain of the ship is Purdy, and he looks pretty good. As I watch college football, quite honestly, I'm not seeing a lot of other quarterbacks a heck of a lot better than him. You might, other than maybe a Jalen Hurts at Oklahoma, but this Purdy kid has got. He's a natural, boy. I'm really impressed. He throws the ball accurately, but I'm really impressed not only with his poise but his vision. He seems to always look over the field and find the open receiver and get him the ball, and that's very impressive for him. He's still a young kid, a year and a half out of high school, for crying out loud, and he just has natural instincts, and he's they've got a running back now. This freshman kid Breece Hall has looked very impressive, and so the parts are all starting to gel down there in Ames right now, and Texas is hurt. They're beat up pretty good. They got lucky and barely beat Kansas last week in Austin, and so Texas is that's going to be a big game, and that could be a game that decides who gets into the championship game. I mean, Oklahoma looks like a shoe-in, but between Texas, Iowa State, Baylor, that's going to determine who's that other team that gets into the championship game.
Well, Baylor's already beat Iowa State, unfortunately.
So Baylor's going to have to lose a couple of games, and they've been lucky. They were very lucky to beat Iowa State, in my opinion, and then they got very lucky to beat Texas Tech 2 weeks ago on a bad officials call, and so maybe their luck will run out and they'll start losing a couple games, but it's going to get interesting. It really will. And then, we were talking the other day, believe it or not, the Hawks have lost 2 in a row. Defense has played really well. Offense has played.
It's a Kirk Ferentz team.
Yeah, offense has played poorly, in my opinion, but if they win out, they would be in the Big Ten championship game.
Isn't that weird?
Because pretty much, I guess. Let's see, Minnesota, believe it or not, is undefeated. Looks pretty good.
That's going to be a
so
game,
Minnesota would have to lose. And I think they still have to play Wisconsin, and they have to play at Iowa. So there could be 2 losses there. The big one is, Iowa's got to take care of the business of the teams they're supposed to beat, and then they've got to go up to Madison and upset the Badgers. And, the chances of that happening the percentages are against them. But what the heck, no one thought Illinois would even have a chance of beating Wisconsin, and they did.
Boy, didn't they.
Yeah.
You know who Wisconsin's playing this weekend?
Yeah, they got Ohio State.
Ohio State.
That's a big game, yeah. As Wisconsin could probably walk away with 2 losses, and by the time they play Iowa, so Iowa's still in a position, and if it's still up to them, if they could win out, they could find themselves in the Big Ten championship game. Unfortunately, that would be against Ohio State.
That would be against Ohio State.
Probably, yeah. It could be Penn State, but it's probably going to be Ohio State.
Yeah. You and Nevin, and correct me if I'm wrong, seem to believe that since Urban Meyer left Ohio State, it's actually a better team. Ohio State is actually a better team. Is that your feeling?
I definitely think so this year. I mean, and you know, he left and Ryan Day took over, and they're clicking on all cylinder. Day first thing he did when he got the head job was fired the whole defensive staff, and
Wow.
it seems to have worked because all of a sudden Ohio State's got a juggernaut defense. And they've always had talent on defense, but their defense never seemed to live up to their talent. Well, they're doing that this year, and then their offense looks very good. They've got an outstanding quarterback transfer from Georgia, and I still don't know how that happened. How you can transfer from Georgia and be eligible right away. I just don't understand that. You know, no one knows the transfer rules anymore.
Well, you know, there's all kinds of that nonsense. If I brought up many times. The University of Iowa has a nepotism rule. You can't work for or with one of your relatives. Well, Brian Ferentz is the offensive coordinator for his dad's football team. And they got around that by saying that Brian's immediate supervisor is actually Barta. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
I mean, I know Kirk Ferentz has a lot of power within the university. And they clearly violated the spirit of that rule and regulation.
Yeah, but I mean, that happens all over the. You look around.
Exactly.
I mean, all the colleges. A lot of these head coaches have their sons, you know, working for them, and so yeah, you can say, well, they got this nepotism rule, but I don't get hung up on that because that's one of those bureaucratic things that, you know, if Brian Ferentz is the best candidate for the job, then you ought to get the job. Now, right now, there's there's people questioning whether that was a good move right now when you look at how the offense is performing, and that's been my biggest disappointment because, you know, last year their offense was pretty decent.
Mm-hmm.
And even though they didn't run the ball real well as they wanted to, Iowa was scoring points, and they were much more efficient on offense. Our offensive line was better last year. We lost both starting guards and our starting center. And in that middle of our offensive line right now, I think the center is a redshirt freshman, and I think he's solid. But our two guards, we've really struggled there. And we're just getting killed right now. And, you know, unfortunately, and Stanley hasn't played particularly well.
He has been a disappointment in a lot of ways.
And the problem is, you know, he has made some tremendous passes, too. I'll give him that. There's times where he's made some throws that were big plays for the Hawks. But he's still a little bit inconsistent. But unfortunately, and I really don't hold this against him, but, you know, he physically is just a big kid with slow feet.
He really is. And he doesn't have any accuracy downfield at all.
And in today's game, today's college game, you got to be able to move. You got to be able to extend the play and get out of the pocket. And otherwise, you're going to get killed back there. And he's been getting killed. Yes.
And he's a big man, too.
And so, you know, if Iowa had a mobile quarterback back there, even though our offensive line was breaking down, you can get out of the pocket and maybe still make a play, move the chains, etc.
This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. Good afternoon. You're on the air.
Well, I guess a couple things. I agree with the comment about a mobile quarterback. If they had the backup for Iowa State, I think that guy would be running wild over there.
Yeah, you might be right because that backup is really fast, Rael Mitchell, and I said last week, I don't know if my Hawk friends agree with me, but I really think if Iowa had Purdy as their quarterback, we'd be undefeated right now.
We'd be pretty dangerous.
I mean, because we've only lost by, 4 or 5 points to Penn State and a touchdown to Michigan. But it is what it is, and we keep sticking with those 1980s quarterbacks that are drop back, sit in the pocket, and get yourself killed. And if you look around,
that's where Kirk is.
I definitely agree with that. But what I was calling about was you're giving the center a little bit of a pass. And all I would say is he's the one calling the blocking schemes. And so when those linebackers are coming untouched, everybody blames the guard, but it could be the center's missed calling or seeing where the pressure's being applied. And I'm just saying that communication on that line is not clear.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. And the other thing that's interesting is, what are you supposed to do? When you know teams are blitzing, you got to keep your back in to pick up the blitzer. And if you watch the Hawks lately, we're sending our back out in the pass pattern, so Stanley has nobody to pick up that blitzer. We're
still doing that.
Yeah.
We're back to Norm Parker.
Yeah, there's no
That's the defensive coach.
Yeah, Norm Parker was the defensive coordinator.
No. Norm, but Iowa, Parker always used to say he was blitzophobic. Yeah, he's a defensive coach, and if you want to say Iowa's defense is still solid, that's fine. But on the defense this year in Iowa, they still don't keep a spy back there, and they rarely blitz, and they should.
I thought you were just talking about the blocking of the
Oh,
fullback.
No. We're not blocking. And you guys are right, of course. We can't seem to get it through our head that there needs to be a safety valve on offense and defense. Certainly we got to have somebody back there to protect the quarterback, and certainly we got to have somebody to rush their quarterback.
Well, that Sargent, the kid, he's missing a lot of blocks too. He's not chipping. He's not sound blocking. That's for sure.
All right. Hey.
Yeah.
All right.
I agree with you.
Thank you for your call. This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
Listen to this.
Making radio great again.
That's right. We're making radio great again. Randy Kuhlman and I are talking sports. We're going to do, as Rush says, we're going to visit the Obscene Profit Center here. We're going to do the obituaries, then we'll be back with Randy and we'll talk sports right here at AM 1400 KVFD.
You work hard and you deserve to get the most for your money. Like health insurance coverage with the largest, most accessible networks, so you can choose where you want to go for care. Like having multiple plans so you can choose the coverage that works best for you. Mostly, you deserve to have the health insurance expertise Iowans have been trusting for over 80 years. Wellmark Blue Cross and Blue Shield. To find the small business or individual plan that's right for you, talk to your local agent about Wellmark today. Get started at wellmark.com.
The value of your tractor is only as good as the dealer support it's backed by. And at Ziegler Ag Equipment, we're behind you every acre of the way. We don't just give you a product or a service, we give you our word. And we stand behind the brands we carry. Dependable brands like Fendt, Challenger, Rogator, Interrogator, Massey Ferguson, and more. For information on all our products and service offerings, work with your Ziegler Ag sales rep or visit us online at ZIEGLERAG.com to see our inventory of new and used machinery.
What if I told you there was a way to step into another gear for your brain and be much sharper, more focused, and improve your memory to a level that you could only dream about, and notice these results in 30 minutes? Hard to believe? Neuroscientists are calling this new brain discovery the biggest advancement in brain science to date. It's called Limitless, the brain pill of the future. Take it, and within 30 minutes, you'll transport your mind to a new level of focus and clarity you would have never thought possible.
I took Limitless, and it started working in minutes. All of a sudden, it felt like a dark cloud had been lifted up right before my eyes. I have a mental clarity I've never felt before.
Biz execs, athletes,
Do you want shoes made from nature's original luxury superfiber? Then you need new Skechers Washable shoes, made from premium quality wool. To start, wool wicks away moisture to help keep you dry and comfortable. It's also super flexible and highly breathable. And not only do they keep you cool and comfortable in the summer, but Skechers Washable shoes also regulate temperature to keep you warm and toasty in the winter. Plus, they're even washable. Discover the wonders of wool with Skechers Washable shoes at a Skechers store near you at Skechers.com or wherever stylish shoes are sold.
Mom, Dad, I'm getting married.
That's wonderful, dear.
Congratulations. So have you decided on a date?
Yes, this Saturday.
What? Are you serious? We need to plan. There's so much to do.
What about the church? The flowers, music, food, inviting everyone?
You would not want to be faced with those hurried decisions then. Why do that to your family with your own final arrangements? I invite you to sit down with us at Gunderson's to pre-plan your funeral. Pre-planning allows you to make thoughtful decisions with a clear mind. Give us a call at Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services, Fort Dodge.
This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. It's 4:37. Obituaries this hour brought to you by Bruce's Funeral Home, the historic Bruce Funeral Home at 923 First Avenue South here in town. You may contact the historic Bruce Funeral Home by calling 515-576-5117 or online at www.brucesfuneralhome.com. Mr. Billy Habhab, William J. Habhab, 47 years old, of Dakota City, formerly of Fort Dodge, died on Wednesday at the Humboldt County Memorial Hospital. There will be a memorial service at 2 o'clock next Monday at the New Covenant Christian Church at 3318 Fifth Avenue South here in town, with Pastor Michael Carmody officiating. A gathering of family and friends will be held 1 hour prior to the service. Memorials may be directed to the family. That, of course, is for William J. Habhab, also known as Billy Habhab, who died at 47 at the Humboldt County Memorial Hospital. Obituaries this hour brought to you by the historic Bruce Funeral Home at 923 First Avenue South in Fort Dodge. You may contact the historic Bruce Funeral Home by calling 515-576-5117 or online at www.brucefuneralhome.com. This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. We'll be back talking sports with Randy Kuhlman in just a moment. In the weather forecast today, sunny with a high of 54, exactly where we are right now. Overnight clear with a low of 32. Tomorrow, sunny with a high of 55. Sunday, sunny with a high of 47. We'll get some farming done this weekend. On Monday, chance of rain, slight chance of rain, mostly cloudy with a high of 40. Tuesday, sunny with a high of 38. On Wednesday, it's going to be sunny with a high of 36. And then on Thursday, it'll be sunny with a high of 40. So when our high temperature is 36 degrees on Wednesday, yeah, we're getting late in the year. There's no doubt. Right now, 54 degrees at AM 1400. KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge.
Have you ever wondered how the brain works? What makes us tick? Join me, Greg Woods, every Wednesday morning for all the latest news on the brain, on aging, and the science behind it all. It's The Mind Boggles, every Wednesday morning at 8:30 on AM 1400 KVFD.
I'm Charles Payne, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Stocks closing higher on mostly positive earnings reports and on news that the U.S. and China made progress in trade discussions today, edging closer to finalizing portions of a Phase 1 deal, with the Dow rising 153 points, the Nasdaq up 57, S&P 500 up 12. And the UAW strike against GM is ending following a majority of union members voting in support of a new 4-year contract, sources tell Fox Business. The strike, which started on September the 16th, is estimated to have cost the company more than $2 billion. And Sears' current owner is exploring selling off potential assets, including its Die Hard brand. Transform Holdco, the retailer's parent, created by financier Eddie Lampert, that bought the Sears and Kmart chains out of bankruptcy, has hired investment bankers to advise on the potential asset sales as the chain continues to struggle, according to the Wall Street Journal. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Hillary Barsky, invested in you.
Hi, I'm Jay Farner, CEO of Quicken Loans. 30% of Americans who are planning home improvements of $5,000 or more will pay for those renovations with a high-interest credit card. That may not be a great idea. A better idea may be to take cash out of your home with a Quicken Loans 30-year fixed-rate mortgage. The rate today on our 30-year fixed-rate mortgage is 3.99%, APR 4.08%. Call us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com.
Rate subject to change. Pay 1.25% fee to receive this discounted rate. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. License in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030.
Funeral directors are there to provide confidence, calming presence, and comforting words to help families grieve the loss of a loved one. The staff at Loffersweiler's Funeral Home raises the bar even higher. They can take care of the smallest details. They're the calm voice of reason and sometimes a very much needed shoulder to cry on. The staff at Loffersweiler's is here when you need them. They're ready to help you organize a beautiful, respectful service. Loffersweiler Funeral Home, Fort Dodge, serving families like yours since 1856.
Michael Devine at AM 1400.
In the name of justice and the American way of life.
With 60 rounds of freedom.
All right, this is AM 1400, KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. I'm Michael Devine. Yeah, we're going to tell the truth, make it matter, and we're never going to be boring. We're also going to talk sports here with Randy Kuhlman. And if you'd like to join us, it's 515-955-1400. Again, Nevin, the international traveler, is not with us today. God knows where he is. Probably Kansas, huh? Probably Kansas, reassuring Bill Self.
I think he's with his Creighton buddies.
Oh, he's with his Creighton buddies somewhere. He must have really formed some good bonds with his college classmates. Wasn't he at something else just a short time ago, or maybe they were
South
planning
Dakota.
this
He
thing?
went to South Dakota.
He went with South Dakota,
and then he got his law degree at Creighton.
That's right. Yeah. Are you that close to your college friends?
I've got some very good college friends, although we're not. They're all over the country, and we're not that. We went to a smaller college, and so we're not.
You went down to.
I was at Cornell College.
Cornell in Mount Pleasant, right?
Yeah, Mount Vernon.
Or Mount Vernon, excuse me.
And so we haven't. We don't get back together, for events at Mount Vernon. There's really no reason to. But, but we stay in touch and get together periodically. Yeah.
Sure. You went to the University of Iowa for your master's, though, didn't you?
Yep.
Did you get it in public administration or?
I know I got it in actually administration of higher education. So
okay.
Yeah, I never went in that field. So
no, you're an old coach.
Yeah. Yeah. I went into coaching. Probably shouldn't have, but I did. I enjoyed it and had some success, but got out of it. It's hard on the family, because you're gone all the time. I was recruiting a lot I was at Western Illinois University, and we were in the same league as you and I, that mid-major, and you're just gone a lot, and it's hard on the family. And one of my college roommates was an assistant coach at Marquette at the same time, and he got divorced, and
well, that ain't no way.
It's hard on families. It is. So I had a chance to get out of it, and my family was happy that I did, but it's a fun life, but it's stressful, and it can be difficult because you got to move around, and good memories. So
I sought my fame and fortune in the radio business, and I had a very young family, and we went to North Carolina, Arkansas, and La Crosse, Wisconsin.
Really?
Yeah, and worked at some good places and made not great money, but a little bit of money. But, radio stations are always being sold, and management comes in. Well, we're going to change the format. You guys over there, you're
gone.
Out. Yeah. So we came up here from Arkansas after a situation like that, and we came back to Fort Dodge, and my wife, I'll never forget this, she turned to me and looked at me very directly, not with any hostility, but she said, "This is it. I'm not moving."
Yeah.
And we got another house, but other than that, we didn't move.
Yeah.
And frankly, I was okay with it by that time.
Yeah, sure.
She and I'm grateful to her for this. She allowed me to try, and it didn't work out as we thought. So we came back here where we're more comfortable.
Yep.
Frankly, North Carolina, I made some serious money out there, but the culture is different. One of our top advertising clients, and a big fan of mine, ran a motorcycle shop. He was a motorcycle shop dealer, and he had been a member of the Klan.
Oh.
So, of course, somebody like me, what the Klan?
Yeah.
But that seems to be kind of accepted down there, and I couldn't accept that.
Well, yeah, back then. That's a few years ago.
I think 30-some years ago.
Yeah. So I think it's a little different today, hopefully.
Hopefully it is, but they just have a radically different history than we do. I worked with a black guy, great guy, university educated, and his name was the same as the county, and there were a family of very wealthy people with the same last name that he did, and he acknowledged that in the past his family was owned by the white family.
Oh my gosh!
And all the descendants are still there, and they acknowledge it. And I just, again, that was so foreign to me
yeah,
it really was. But we're talking sports.
We digress.
We digress once again. Yes, we do. So Randy Koolman is our guest, and if you'd like to talk sports with us, 515-955-1400. It's been the KVFD number for a long, long time. So this weekend we've got some football going on. We talked a little bit about the Fort Dodge Dodgers. I should have given Coach Miller a call, had him come in with us, because if he wins this one, It's kind of
all-time
a
winning
milestone.
coach.
All-time winning coach.
Quite a feat, and he's done a great job leading the Dodgers over the years, and they got a big game tonight. 2 5-3 teams come. Marshalltown's 5-3, and the winner of this game goes on to the playoffs, and the loser goes home.
Go.
So it's really like a playoff game,
Yeah.
and so it should be a good game. And I would, I'm guessing the Dodgers will handle them, but
we don't know.
You never know. You never know. But they'll be ready to play for the seniors. It'll be their last game at Dodger Stadium. They'll be jacked up, and the weather's going to be nice, so we should have a great crowd. Should be a good game to go to, a fun game, because, like I say, the winner, if you win, you're in, and so they're playing for a little extra tonight. So that'll be fun, and hope the fans can get out and support the Dodgers. And the Gales are playing their arch rival in the Manson Northwest Webster team over in Manson, and that's always a big game for both those schools. So two good games going on tonight, and of course the Gales have had a tough year, and this will be the last game of the season for the Gales. But
I do have a little confidence in Coach Dillon. I don't know him personally.
He's rebuilding.
Yeah,
he's got numbers out now, and he's selling his program, and and there's nothing harder than rebuilding a football program. It's the hardest thing, because you got to have numbers.
Yes,
and when you lose in football, not only are you getting beat on the scoreboard, but you're also physically getting beat up pretty good, and the Gales have had their share of injuries this year, and so. It's a process that you got to be patient with, no question, and then Coach Miller has done a great job of selling his program with the kids, getting them out, getting them involved, getting them committed to the program, and that's what it takes. And his record is he's had some really good teams over the years, and he's he makes the playoffs on a it's not rare for the Dodgers to get in those playoffs in the 4A, and and it's tough, because if you're I'm guessing if the Dodger wins tonight, my understanding is their RPI will probably be 12, so they're going to end up.
The RPI is what?
Well, that's their rating system, so they'll be seeded 12th, and they'll have to play this 5th rated team in the playoffs, which will probably be somebody like a Cedar Rapids Kennedy or possibly one of the suburban schools down in Des Moines. And so you're always matched up when you're a lower seed. That first game you get matched up with a really good team, and so it's always tough that way. But that's kind of how the system works, but they're going to be fired up to get in those playoffs and at least get another shot at it, which would be great.
I have to get off sports here for a moment. The Fort Dodge Police have released some information, and I'll read it to you verbatim. On Friday, the 25th, October 25th, at approximately 1:20 in the afternoon, the Webster County Communications Center received a call regarding a male threatening harm to others in the cafeteria of Iowa Central Community College. Information relayed to responding officers indicated the male was armed. As officers were responding to the area, the individual had left the area walking west toward Highway 169. Officers located a male matching the description given walking northbound on the shoulder of Highway 169 when they approached and detained him. Additional officers responded to the ICC cafeteria to investigate what had occurred. It was discovered that the male entered the cafeteria and approached the area of two individuals who worked in the cafeteria. The male began yelling and verbally threatening to kill the two employees. It was learned that the male was well known to one of the employees. Based on the disruptive behavior and threats made, several students in the area at the time exited the building. Apparently, following the investigation, a 52-year-old man known as Gary D. Evans was arrested.
How old was he?
52. What was a 52-year-old man doing threatening to kill people in the Iowa Central cafeteria? but he has been arrested so far for disorderly conduct. So that's the type of story that gets around our town pretty fast.
Yes, it does.
And
we don't need that.
No, the man is under arrest, and so God, what don't people just take it outside anymore and fight, and that's the end of it? I mean, you got to shoot somebody to make an impact, or what? I don't know.
I don't know.
Why really is a 52-year-old man doing at Iowa State if he doesn't work there? What's he doing there?
No, I want to give a shout out and kudos to our police department, because they obviously responded very quickly and accosted the guy in a very short period of time before he wreaked any damage on anybody else. Fortunately,
Or
he didn't.
Scared the living hell out of everybody.
Yeah, exactly. But
that's a good thing. I mean, I wanted to read that so everybody knew the man was under arrest. The newspaper won't be out till tomorrow, of course. But
but it'll be all over the Des Moines stations tonight.
Oh, for God's sake, yes. But I just wanted to put that out there. I don't know any more information than what I just read to you. It's another one of those crazy incidents. We're all a little jumpy, I guess, after Pastor Henderson. So there we go. Anyway, we're talking sports with Randy Kuhlman. And, we got to get back to sports here because that's what we really like to talk about. So you're thinking that Iowa will win this weekend over Northwestern?
It's going to be an interesting game because Northwestern has a good defense, and so does Iowa. And both teams have really struggled offensively. So it'll be interesting to see which offense can raise up and perform and win the game. And again, I'm going to go with the Hawks, even though, unfortunately, Pat Fitzgerald, the coach at Northwestern, has seemed to have Iowa's number.
He has, yeah.
Over the years, and always has his team very well prepared for Iowa.
He seems to like to beat Iowa.
Yeah, and it's at Northwestern, although that's usually a fairly easy place to play because they don't draw particularly well, and there'll probably be 10,000 Hawkeye fans there tomorrow. But it'll be an interesting game. I don't know. I don't even know what the line is on that game.
I don't have any idea either.
I think Iowa's favored, but they can't be favored by a whole lot, I wouldn't think.
Well, Northwestern's not having a great year.
No, but they've been in the games. They've played everybody tough, and because their defense is good, and they just don't have a very good offense to get them over the hump and score enough points. Nebraska beat them on a late in the game at Nebraska, and they played Wisconsin really tough at Wisconsin.
Yes, they did.
I think Wisconsin only beat them by 7 points maybe. So they're better than people think they are. And but
I tell you something about Wisconsin. I have seen some segments of the Illinois-Wisconsin game, and Illinois looked. I don't know if Illinois looked really good or Wisconsin looked really bad. But boy, if there was a shocker in
that
college
was a shocker.
Football, because Illinois has just been terrible. Lovie Smith just hasn't been able to get them going.
Yeah.
And they beat one of the best teams in the country, I think.
Yeah, at that time, they were ranked 5th or 6th. I think obviously Wisconsin came in. They weren't ready to play mentally. They were looking ahead probably to this week of Ohio State.
Yeah, they could have been.
And in football, like in all sports, but really in football, it's such an emotional game that if you're not ready to play emotionally, you can get beat. And Wisconsin was flat, and Illinois was jacked up, and they got some momentum, and they beat them. And it was
they've been talking about getting rid of Lovie Smith, so maybe the players rallied around him. I don't know.
Could be, and that maybe saved Lovie's job.
I would say that would be.
It kind of depends on how Illinois finishes. Unfortunately, Iowa's got to still play Illinois, and now all of a sudden that looks like it could be a really tough game for us. But but that's that's college football, and you just never know. That's the old saying. That's why the ball's not round. It can bounce, take funny bounces. And
you keep wanting to remind me that Iowa pummeled Ohio State a couple of years ago.
That's right.
And nobody in the world thought that Ohio State would lose to Iowa.
Right.
I think it was 55-10 or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was
they beat them good.
But so it's it'll be a tough game, and it should be a good game. I think it's going to be a close game, and again, it could come back down to a Duncan field goal. Who knows? He might kick 5 of them, and we beat them 15-12 or something.
At least we have that, don't we?
Yeah.
We have a solid kicker this year.
Absolutely.
There's been years where we didn't. So,
yeah.
Gosh, where's my Ford? Did I give you the Ford?
Here you go.
Yeah, we gotta check the Ford guys and see what they're doing. We just have about 90 seconds here. Where are they? They're usually on the back page. Well, I don't know. They got to be in here.
They're in there somewhere. I saw them this morning. Maybe they're on.
I did too.
Maybe they're on the front page section.
Well, maybe they are. What do they do with
back
that?
of the front page. But
by golly, they're not in the. How do you like that? The Ford football forecast is not in the sports section. I don't know how that can be. Let's find it here. Yeah, this.
There it is.
It is. So we have guest pickers Larry Ernest of L&M Ethanol and our friend Jim Bird. And the picks are Notre Dame versus Michigan. Kind of split on that one. Where would you be on that one?
I would take Notre Dame, although I think it'll be a good game, but I just think Notre Dame's a better football team.
4 out of 5 are picking Nebraska over Indiana. I would have to go with Nebraska. As you know, I'm not.
I'm wondering where that game's at. If that's at Indiana, I'm going to go with Indiana.
Okay. Oklahoma versus Kansas State. Everybody's picking.
Yeah, Oklahoma.
I'd have to say. Oklahoma State versus Iowa State.
I think Iowa State will win easily.
4 out of 5 are picking Iowa State. Iowa versus Northwestern. Everybody's picking Iowa. I don't know if that's emotional or not, but Syracuse versus Florida State. 3 out of 5 are picking Florida State. I don't.
Oh, I'm going with Syracuse there.
Yeah, I might do that as well. Texas versus TCU. Everybody's picking Texas. Illinois versus Purdue. 3 out of 5 picking Purdue.
Yeah, that'll be an interesting game. I don't know where that's at either, but if it's at Purdue, I'd go with Purdue. I think they're getting better.
All right, Randy Coleman has been our guest. Thank you, Randy.
Yeah, thanks, Mike.
You're listening to KVFD and Fort Don John.
A court victory for House Democrats. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. The K-House committee will get access to secret grand jury testimony from the special counsel's investigation.
A federal judge says the House Judiciary Committee is entitled to review grand jury testimony from special counsel Robert Mueller's investigation into Russian election interference. Judge Beryl Howell writes, tipping the scale even further toward disclosure is the public's interest in a diligent and thorough investigation into potentially impeachable conduct by the president described in the Mueller report. Justice Department lawyers argued the House did not have a sufficient explanation for needing the material. The judge's order requires that testimony be made available to the committee by next week.
Fox's Jared Halpern on Capitol Hill. The Trump administration reportedly banning flights to all Cuban cities except Havana in an effort to roll back Obama-era easing of relations. That's according to the Associated Press. The bans will reportedly take effect beginning in December. Striking United Auto Workers employees will put down the picket signs. They've approved a new contract with General Motors.
A lot of the workers that we talked to say they liked this deal because it included pay increases, their health care costs stay the same, and it includes an $11,000 signing bonus. That was big for the workers because they've been on strike for 6 weeks and they haven't been receiving any pay. There were some workers who didn't like this contract because they say it doesn't do enough to protect American jobs, as it confirmed the closure of 3 plants in the United States.
Grady Trimble with the Fox Business Network. Now the union will move forward to bargain with either Ford or Fiat Chrysler. Wall Street at the close. Stocks rose after some solid company earnings reports and signs of progress in resolving the U.S.-China trade standoff. The Dow added 152, the Nasdaq plus 57, the S&P rose 12. America's listening to Fox News.
Mike Capel here, serial entrepreneur with words from another happy payroll customer.
I've used it for a year now, and I've worried 0 time. I just enter in the time, it's calculated, and it's taken out of bank account, and it's just done. I love it.
Visit us at patriotsoftware.com. Use promo code RADIO and get 2 months of payroll free. That's patriotsoftware.com.
Accounting and payroll, keep your time and money.
fire up a John Deere 1 Series tractor, you can tackle the job without wrestling the attachments. Hook up everything from a front loader to a drive-over mower deck in no time, so you can haul gravel, cut grass, or do any job in between. Because when things just click, work just gets done. And now get a 1 Series for just $99 a month at your nearest participating John Deere dealer. Nothing runs like a Deere. Run with us. Search John Deere 1 Series for more. 0% annual percentage rate. For additional cost information, please call toll-free 855-633-2315.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
With your KVFD News Update, I'm Rob Jones. There was a candidate forum last night at Friendship Haven Celebration Center. The candidates running for the Fort Dodge City Council seats that are up for election on this year's ballot were in attendance. Those 6 candidates included Councilman Nevin Conrad, Melvin Newsom. Those two are facing each other for the at-large seat. The second ward candidates, Justin Myers and Andy Fritz, and the candidates for the 3rd Ward seat, Councilman Dave Flattery and Richard Higgins. The forum featured questions from the public. One of the major topics of discussion in the forum was the upcoming referendum on if the city should create a municipal broadband utility. In sports, Week 9 of high school football, the regular season finale under the lights tonight. All games are available online at yourfortdodge.com. 6:45 pregame show and a 7 p.m. kickoff. On 92 Rock, the Fort Dodge Dodgers are at home hosting Marshalltown. Both teams come in 5-3. The Dodgers coming off a win against Sioux City West 57-0 last week. A trip to the playoffs is on the line, and if the Dodgers want to keep their season alive, tonight is a must-win. Coach Matt Miller says his guys are ready to go.
You know, I know just sitting there visiting with our kids and our staff as we get ready, they're ready to roll. As one of our things I've always said, you got 48 minutes to play and a lifetime to remember.
With a win tonight, Coach Matt Miller could become the all-time winningest coach in Dodger football history. The Dodgers will have a spirit walk presented by the Dodger Gridiron Club outside of Dodger Stadium tonight at 5:30. On Sunday 99.7, the St. Edmund Gales are at Manson Northwest Webster in the regular season finale. Manson Northwest Webster coming off a win against Ridgeview. The Gales have lost their last 5 games in a row and look to get back in the win column tonight. On 105.9 The Beach, join veteran area sportscasters Mark Williamson and Brian Peters as they bring you the call as South Central Calhoun hosts Pocahontas area. Tonight marks the regular season finale, senior night for South Central Calhoun, and Coach Brian Case said the message to his team is clear.
Word of the week this week is family. You know, there's always going to be some struggles within families. You're always going to have some differences and so forth, but at the same time, you're always going to have each other's back. You know, this is our seniors' last regular season game, and it's everybody's responsibility to make sure that they go out on top.
South Central Calhoun can finish the regular season undefeated and clinch the district title tonight. Here's Coach Case on winning the district title.
By the RPI, we have a good possibility of being district champions anyway, just because of the RPI. We want to be outright district champions. The only way to make that happen is by winning this football game.
For KVFD from the Jerry
Live from the headquarters of Ramsey Solutions, broadcasting from the Dollar Car Rental Studios, it's the Dave Ramsey Show, where debt is dumb, cash is king, and the paid-off home mortgage has taken the place of the BMW as the status symbol of choice. I'm Dave Ramsey, your host. You jump in, we'll talk about your life and your money. It's a free call at 888-825-5225. That's 888-825-5225. We'll start off this hour with Shelley in Utah. Hi, Shelley. Welcome to the Dave Ramsey Show.
Hello.
Hey.
I was hoping you could help me out today with some finances I'm handling for my mom.
Okay.
She is 88 years old, and we have moved her into an assisted living facility, and we just sold her home and received the proceeds of that are $285,000. And wondered if you had advice on what to do with that.
What is the cost of the assisted living facility?
The cost of that is $3,800 a month.
Mm-hmm.
She has an income, also retirement income of $3,320, and right now she has long-term care insurance at $2,700 for the next 2 years.
Wow.
She has an IRA and an annuity with a death benefit also, and then she has savings of about $40,000 in the bank.
How much is in the IRAs?
It's just a small $10,000 in the one, and then the annuity with the death benefit has about $140,000 in it.
Wow. She has done a wonderful job.
Yes, she has.
Congratulations.
And I want to keep that going. So
yeah, congratulations, Mom. Well, I think we can all agree the primary use of this money is to care for her.
Right.
For the next 2 years, she's going to bank a large portion of her income because the long-term care is going to cover that, a vast majority of the cost. And so she's going to, before you even get into the IRAs or get into the house money, she's going to have to live about 8 years, it sounds to me like.
Right.
And I don't know what probability is on that because I don't know her health or anything else. I do know she's 88.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So the first priority is to be able to access this money if she should need it. It doesn't sound like she will ever touch it.
Probably not.
Okay. The second then if that occurs, then who are we really investing this money for? Well, whoever would receive it upon her death. That's who we're really investing it for or holding it for.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to burn through the annuity and the IRA before I touch this money if this money's invested. It'll be a long time before you even get to that. So, you know, all of that to say, I'm pretty comfortable putting this house money in some mutual funds if she is and you are. How's her mental state, capacity?
She struggles, but we have discussed that, and she felt like she wanted to do something where it would earn better than a savings account or something like that.
Okay. All right. And are you comfortable with that?
Yeah.
Are you in charge? Are you in charge of her affairs legally?
Yes. Yes.
That's been assigned to you with powers of attorney.
Yes, I have power of attorney. I'm on her trust.
Okay.
All that stuff.
All right.
So.
Are you the sole heir?
No, I have siblings.
How many?
I have 4 siblings. 4.
How troublesome are they?
They're good. They're easy.
Okay.
And they're willing to help with this, and they are kind of in agreement that it should be invested. We just wanted to do something that was wise.
Okay.
We didn't want to take it.
Because I don't want you to invest it and it happened to be down a little bit and one of them go into drama queen mode when you start dispersing this out of the estate later and just come back on you. I don't think they could, but it would just be a relational issue.
Right, yeah.
But if everybody's in agreement, it sounds like you all got a very functional, good family. And so if everybody is in the know and everybody's in agreement to a degree that this is what we're going to do with it, then if I were you, I would just sit down with a SmartVestor Pro and I'd pick some mutual funds.
Okay.
Because you're probably, you know, how's her health overall?
She has dementia. She doesn't walk very well. I mean, you know, she could go, you know, another 5 years. I don't foresee past that.
Yeah,
but
okay.
I think that's probably
the window we're investing for, and you're probably fine then. Yeah, I'm good. Pick you some mutual funds. Sit down with SmartVestor Pro. Let them know the story. Then make sure mom and the other siblings are in the loop. Not because you have to legally, and not because you really have any liability, but just relationally. If everybody's in on it, then if it goes down a little bit about the time we're dispersing it, nobody's going to go into freak out mode.
Yeah, that's important.
Yeah, that's all. That's all. It's just relationship management stuff is all that is. It's like Sharon and I make our decisions together. That way she can't tell you I told you so. That's one of the benefits of me getting my wife's input on stuff. So, hey, thanks for the call. Open phones at 888-825-5225. Thank you for joining us. If you are not strapped with student loan payments, odds are you know someone who is. 1 in 4 Americans are struggling with this. Millions are having to put off things like buying houses and are choosing not to have kids because they feel stuck. They feel overwhelmed. We've launched a brand new podcast that immediately became a top 10 podcast on Apple Podcasts and has hit the bestseller list on all the podcast lists as well. It exposes the ridiculous federal student loan program, and it shows how predatory lenders have screwed over an entire generation of students. Episode 4 comes out Monday, and interviews like industry insiders, like thought leaders like Seth Godin, Anthony O'Neill, of course me, many, many others. There's tons of people in there. Mark Cuban, Mike Rowe. We've interviewed tons of insiders from the business, whistleblowers from the business that tell what it's really like on the inside, attorneys that are suing over the student loan debacle that their clients are in, and we've gotten over 4,000 reviews on Apple Podcasts. And one reviewer said, excellent information. I wish I had this before I went to college and took out student loans because I was told it was the only way. The launch of Borrowed Future, the whole podcast series, there's 8 episodes. It corresponds with the launch of Anthony O'Neill's book, Debt-Free Degree, which was a #1 best-selling book. So you do not have to graduate strapped with student loans. And as a culture, we need to understand what a plague this is and how out of control Congress is because they continue to make these loans. It's an epic problem, and Congress needs to stop it. And you need to start calling your congressman and your senator and telling them, stop the student loan program. Stop it. Borrowed Future on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, wherever you listen to podcasts, and then subscribe because there's 8 of them, 8 episodes in the series. Number 5 will drop on Monday. This is The Dave Ramsey Show. Were you told that you were investing in your family by investing in vacations? Were you told a timeshare would be an affordable way to travel with first-class accommodations? Maybe you were told if it didn't work out, you'd be able to sell it. Well, you were told wrong. Timeshares are not investments, and if you own one and feel stuck, Timeshare Exit Team provides a way out. They've been doing this for over 7 years and have helped over 18,000 people exit their timeshare contracts. They know what it takes to take on this industry. The first step is a free consultation.